Good evening, Facebook world, YouTube world, and all of our friends over at Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Pandora, Amazon Music, and Twitter. We're just loading them up one after another in audiences. We appreciate all you guys being here on the show for tonight. We have a really special guest for you. And then also we wanted to announce that we're on Twitch now. So we're new to Twitch. Used to do some Twitch stuff with comics, but now we're on it's Camaraderie. So if you want to check us out there, you can. But again, all these different places you can hear all of what's going on from your comic book source. And tonight what we're going to do is we're going to focus on we're going to kick off 2022 with the Titans of Industry series. We did that throughout 2021 and people liked it. So we went ahead and brought it back for 2022. So the Titans of Industry is the been there's done that's right of the people that have really helped shape the industry and are still active today a lot of times, and you know it's a good time to hear what they did, how they did it, and some of the stuff they're doing today. So on that note, our guest tonight is going to be Mr. Rusty Gilligan, and Rusty has a long list of accolades that he's done. So to start off, his entertainment career as an actor actually started off in New York when he first appeared on Broadway, and then moved on to television. He went into Little House on the Prairie and Family Affair, and then after that he got his start off in movies themselves. And in 1977, and he'll be able to tell you a little bit about that here and there, but Rusty was part of the crew that was on Pete's Dragon. So he was in Pete's Dragon. That's pretty cool. Also too, in 1978 he started as a storyboard artist, and what really caught my eye, the really first time I started kind of paying attention to what was going on and did some back search on this, was for heavy metal in 1981 was something that really shaped me, and Rusty was a part of that. Then Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, Captain America, the First Avenger, the Avengers themselves, and that's just to name a few. I mean, it goes on and on and on. It folds out like a roadmap, so it's pretty impressive where all he's been and what all he's done. He was a wrestler, and also too he's worked in Marvel, DC, Image, Big Bang, Dynamite. He's got licensing stuff with Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Night of the Living Dead, Vampirilla, tons of baseball card stuff. We keep up a lot of times back and forth. He talks and shows me a lot of stuff that he's doing in the card industry. Did some stuff with Cartoon Network, and of course, if you picked up on Mac and Trouble, that's a real fun thing because it's always fun to check out what those two cats are up to. So that's just like I said, a very few things, a short run of what all Rusty's been up to. And so we're about to kick things off here in a second. And just want to let everybody know to make sure that you tune in to everything going on in the NSC Roadshow. So we're part of the NSC Roadshow, as are another 20 or so podcasters. And that also ties in with Apodaloosa and the Apocalypse. And the Apocalypse is from Brian Wayne, and we're tied in with them. It's a really great crew over there. And the Apocalypse is something to check out. You'll see some tags in there for that. So again, make sure you pay attention to those couple of networks we mentioned. And this show is actually sponsored by Inked, and so think Inked when you need something for your creations as far as anything in the comic book related industry, focusing on crowdfunding stuff, different things like Kickstarter, Indiegogo. If you need images, if you need to market your book, anything in the comic realm, that's what we focus on over at Inked. And to let you know how we kicked off 2022, Inked became Inked Studios. So Ink Studios handles so much more than we did in 2021. We've expanded our services, and if you want to contact us on that, just go out to inked.marketing, look us up, drop us a line, and then contact us, and we'll send you a guide that shows you all the services we do and the expanded services we have for 2022. I just don't have time to go all of them right now, and because we want to focus on what we have lined up as far as guest-wise. So just want to mention that they're sponsored there. And any of the different things we're going to talk about this afternoon, we'll be able to tie back together to that. So lots of stuff going on Inked. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get this party started. I'm just kidding. No, but really, we that's our intro that we've had forever. We're kind of debating whether we like it, we don't like it, we love it, you don't love it. Let us know, okay? So we're trying to find out if we're going to keep that one, or if we're going to rebuild another one. just drop us a line. Let us know what you think, and we'll kind of adjust from there. So, without further ado, what I'm going to do, I'm about to bring in our guest for this afternoon and listen to all what he has to say, listen to some of the great products and some of the things that he's been associated with, some of the stuff he's got today. So without further ado, let me bring in Mr. Rust, your friend and mine, Mr. Rusty Gilligan.
Well, hey, Kevin, how you doing, man?
Good, sir. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I was cheating while you were doing introductions. I was working.
There you go. See, and that's one thing I can say about Rusty. Rusty's a good friend of mine, and he's forever working, man. And I thought I worked a lot, but I could be in between something, and he's still working. So it never fails. So he's always working.
I was just putting together. I'm doing charity cards for Marty Kuklinski, who does Island Dreams. I've been doing them for about 10 plus years. And I was just doing research on tikis. So I was, you've seen some of the tiki cards I've sent you. So I was doing some research on tikis, trying to get like new eyes and new mouths, not to steal anything, but just to get some inspiration. Because I just finished a set for him a couple of months ago, and then he sent me like spare blanks. Like, from 10 years ago all the way up until last year, he's got extras. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, geez, what am I going to put on these? So I put a couple of girly pictures and I put a couple of tikis, an animal here and there. And I said, listen, if you ever need any more, just let me know. That's what always gets me in trouble. So I put my foot in it, and he sent double the amount of cards this time. So now I'm like, oh God, what can I do now?
Exactly.
What's the next tiki, or what's the next pretty girl?
I need to hook you up with Mike Gordon, and when we do the Tiki Zombie book for, because he could probably point you in some directions. He's like all things tiki. So
I would love it. I would love
to put
it.
you two together. That would be something fun, because like I said, he's just a great source for tiki. And he can kind of point you in the right direction on that.
Yeah, I like. It's funny because when you do cards, you get mixed into a lot of different, subject matter.
Right.
So, like, I'll work on baseball, dinosaurs, girly, superheroes, tikis, things like that. I did one where it was all plants. So, it could be anything. And that's my thing. I like to see, like, new stuff and special stuff, whatever. But in this case, I did tikis for his for these extras, which I thought was kind of cool, because they're leftovers.
Yeah, well, if you guys out there are in the visual and listening world are out there in the market for cards, like I said, Rusty does a lot of specialty cards and a lot of one-offs that you get in packs and everything. So I get to see a bunch of those before they're released, which is pretty cool.
Here's a few if you want to look.
I can bring you in. Let's see. There you go. We'll kind of Brady bunch off to the side and scoot over, and you can kind of show them what's going on.
Yeah, those were some. I like doing. I don't. It's easy to do sexy girls. I mean, everybody does it, and I personally like the nicer ones. I have kind of a retro golden age flair when I do stuff, but those are some of the tikis, and then the little devil guy was an inspiration. Okay. But this is like the kind of stuff that I really like right here.
Yeah,
I think
that would make a killer tattoo.
What? But I like stuff like that. I did some really good ones for. Anyway, I'll close this out. I did some really good ones for his other set, but I'm hoping that he likes it anyway.
Yeah.
It's for charity. Like I said, more than 10 years worth we've been doing.
Wow.
I've done everything from pictures of Stonehenge to Maui and all kinds of animals, which is something that I really like doing, is the animals. And then the tikis, the pretty girls. One time we did pirates, Actually, one time he had a set based on rock stars, so I wound up doing Pink Floyd and AC/DC, which
Oh,
is
cool.
my personal favorite.
Let me. Mike is in now, our co-host with the mostest. So let me go ahead and bring in Mr. Mike Williams. Hello, good sir.
How you
Hey,
everybody doing, man? Rusty,
Hey.
nice to meet you.
how's it going, man?
It's going really great. It's going really great. I don't have my setup because I'm still kind of recovering from coming back from Missouri, so I'm at my wife's desk.
Yes, he has been on the back and forth and on the road and stuff. So he's just getting settling in. And so, well, if you can make it, great. If you're not, cool. That's understandable. So
You're lucky that you've got a nice setup behind you. Mine is my studio is like a warehouse, and I literally take the blanket that I sit on and throw it over what side? This side, and then I have the big placard that covers up whatever. If I took all this stuff off and turned the computer even just a little bit, you'd think I was on an episode of Hoarders.
man, that's like here. I'm going to be honest with you. If like I said, like you just talking about, if I tilted, you would see like stacks of books.
Yeah, but
projects.
I've seen your stuff. Your stuff looks cool. You look like you're in a studio. I look like I'm talking to you from inside of a dumpster.
It looks like Toys R Us threw up in this room. Is what it looks like. I mean,
There might be a body under the sheet behind Rusty.
there might. Yeah, no telling. I mean, granted, and it gets worse in the garage. So I mean, this studio is about half the space the other studio was in Colorado, and so there you go. He's always got stuff that kind of comes
in honor of your shirt.
Yes. Speaking of which, I wore the shirt in honor of one of the projects that Rusty's working on. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that one that just came out?
The
Everything to do with Afterlife?
this is called Ghostbusters Hell Fury, and it's a web series that's upcoming. Right now, they're doing webcasts with some of the stars, and they're working on the first few episodes. Now, I've done artwork for them. Let me see if I can pull it up while I'm talking to you. And it basically is under the direction of Mike Walker and Tom Gebhardt, who they call, Ghostbuster Tom. And it's actually, to be honest with you, it's actually very exciting. This is further adventures of the characters, and it ties in not only the movies, but episodes will feature elements of games and other adventures. Let me see if I could share this. Now, see, to me,
play the games now.
To me, sharing the screen is an adventure here.
Jack just popped up. Jack Holder's an incredible artist. I know he's working on some awesome projects. Yeah, he is. He's awesome, working on some really awesome projects, and he just got through working on Jack's project. So that's another awesome project that will come up tonight. So thanks for that, Jack. All right, here we go. Bam, Brady Bunch style again.
That's actually the artwork. You have to pardon me. Sharing the screen is an adventure because this is like a 12-year-old computer. So let me see if I can. There you go.
There's a commercial that's somewhat old. I haven't seen it in a while. That this guy is driving in his car and he's got his arm around his computer, and I think it's got like 9X printed on the box in large letters. And he's driving all happy. He's got his 9X computer, and as he's pulling up to the red light, he sees the billboard, and they're pasting over 9X with 10X as they're. And he hadn't even, of course, hadn't even gotten home yet, and his stuff's out of date. So that's how you feel.
This is the logo. They have an official logo, which looks like the original logo on metal, like all burnt away. And when I was hired to come in, I thought to myself, I want to upgrade the logo that the original logo. So I did this one from scratch in my style, keeping with, the format of the original, right. And it goes along with it. I'm also going to be playing a voice in the series, but I can't tell you which character because it's actually a secret. Like the secret reveal will be coming up. Nice. So I can't tell you what voice I'm going to be playing, but I have a voice in there. and it's actually pretty exciting the way that they've tied it all together. Um, they have some celebrity guests. They have taping being done at authentic firehouses. They have the cars. They have incredible props, and the cast is made up of some really cool people.
Nice.
Um,
I've seen some of the promo videos, and it's really, it looks like it's really well put together.
Yeah, it's nice. It is. The good thing about doing a web series or a fan series is that you put your heart into it.
Right.
It's not just that you're working, for a job. I don't want to knock anything that I've worked on, but you get hired. Like for example, I was just hired for a film just the other day, and they want like a creepy voice, and they want this and they want that, and it's just a job. You slap
Right.
on the headphones, and you give them what they want, and it's not like working for comics or cards where the director says or the art director turns around and says, "Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, we just need you to tilt the hand. Can you tilt the head?" And I'm like, "Dude, this is ink. That you don't tilt anything."
Right. Yeah. It's
when
there.
you create an eraser for ink, I'll tilt the head.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I don't do a lot of digital, so I try to do everything by hand. So a lot of the things I do are in layers,
Right.
physically. So I can really tilt it. It's just a pain in the butt.
But it's there's such a cool knack and a style to the stuff that Rusty works on, and he's shown me some of the behind the scenes as he works, and it's really cool to be tied in with that because we're always sharing trade secrets back and forth about how this was done or how that was done, and that's always fun to be able to collaborate like that.
Oh yeah.
I wish companies would do more web series because they're easier to make, faster film time, it's cheaper. If
It's
you guys
funny.
ever
I have a theory on that. Not to cut you off, but I have a theory on that that's really cool. When you go online and you stream, let's say, a television show,
Right.
okay, just pick any television show, and you're basically able to watch it, 8 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 5 at night, whatever, and watch it over and over again. Watch it 2 days later, a month later, a year later, if it's stored up. So I keep thinking to myself, why would you ever cancel a show? You could just keep it going. An hour-long show could be cut back to a half hour, or it could be on once every 2 weeks, or whatever. I mean, I keep, especially an animated show. I just never. It's got such a gigantic shelf life when it comes to the internet, and I have a Roku that I watch every day on when I'm in the studio, and there's tons of channels and tons of content. I mean, imagine somebody like, let's say, like NBC Universal, maybe hundreds of canceled shows.
Oh yeah.
They could just keep them going.
Well,
So-
here's something on a mass amount of, you want to talk about a mass amount of just stuff that's out there as far as content. I was reading some stuff the other day, and there's 850,000 active podcasts right now.
Wow.
850,000. Now, out of that 850,000, the interesting thing I thought about it was only 20% are visual like this show.
Yeah.
And out of that 20%, there's even smaller margins that are crazy enough like us to do it live. So
I
that
like
being
that
said,
word better. It's smarger. It's a smarger. It's
man,
a smart-
I'm about to hiccup because I drank a bunch of stuff just now, and it's like it's stuck right there, and it just wants to just keep hopping in there.
Smargin was a good word. I like that.
we make up words all the time. I mean, camaraderie is a made up word. So I mean, we just like making what they got portmanteaus. You just take two words like smoke and fog and stick them together and make smog, right? So we
Crazy,
stick
man.
words together all the time, on purpose and not on purpose.
We're
So
3 talking heads out of 850,000 talking heads. What a week!
exactly. There you go. We're the 8 out of 850,000. We're the talking heads for this week. I can see T-shirts with that on it.
850,000 chosen ones.
Yes. Is that not crazy? And everybody, I mean, the other thing, I was flipping channels on, I think it was at Sirius Radio, whatever's in the car, and my wife and I were talking, and then, like, there's all kind of crazy podcasts out there. I mean, you can't. We could spend the rest of the show talking about that, but it's even crazier. She should have never done this, but my wife showed me some stuff on TikTok the other day, And as she said, and this isn't a derogatory mark against anybody, because I've got a touch of it myself, but TikTok is like the answer to ADD. And I'm like, Jesus. Yeah. You look up and 3 hours are gone.
Yep.
And you've seen about 3 hours of useless information.
My favorite are the animal videos.
Yeah.
That gets me. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be just one of them sitting still and I watch it over and over again.
I love the dog fails. Like the dog that tries to jump over the bush and jumps through it, or like I always tell people, not when we're talking about education and training on systems and stuff, I always tell people, I was like, not all dogs can catch a frisbee.
Yeah,
that's just the nicest way I can put it.
It really flips the industry on its head. They say not everybody can be an entertainer, but I beg to differ.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Watch TikTok for an hour.
I tell people all the time, everybody has a talent and there's a market for everything.
There is.
Being an amateur to do something has taken over tons of industries. Well, everything from comics to video games and back again have gotten major amateur followings.
The one I need explained to me, and then we'll jump back into what we were talking about with the comics stuff. But the one that's got to be explained to me, somebody email me, IM me, text me something. Somebody please explain the TikToks where they're rubbing the microphone and murmuring. There's a whole ton of them out there, and they're taking microphones and they're putting cellophane on them and tape and all kind of, and she just is
that a new challenge?
They're like they're conjuring a spell or something, man.
Is it a new challenge?
I don't know what it is. Somebody out there in listening land, please email me and we'll talk about it on the next show. What in the world?
I'm too old for TikTok. I'm lucky I even get the videos on Instagram, and I don't even know how to do that. So.
They got monks TikToking in like India and stuff, man. It's just any and everything you can think of. There was a kid the other day flipping a Rubik's Cube, and he was doing it under 8 seconds, and he was practicing the whole time he was talking, and he would mess it up and look at it and just flip it and just do. And he's like, the world's record's like 3.3 or 3.4 seconds. So he was trying to get closer to the world's record, and he's at like under 8 seconds. Okay, it takes me like 8 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think I pulled all the stickers off and put them all back in order. So forget about 8 weeks. It was maybe I was close to the record ripping them off.
You're like, I got this. Hey, there's a screwdriver trick too. You can pop it with a screwdriver.
Right,
that's even worse because then it all goes apart.
That was what they did in high school until everybody started getting the little squares with the bent edges because of the screwdriver going into the slot.
Yeah,
I remember just taking the stickers off and putting them back on. So,
go figure.
That's an age thing, though.
We're all dating ourselves.
Now they don't make them like that anymore. Now they're actually made with it on it, so you can't do it.
I'm going to hit an age thing, and this is something that Mike did, not on purpose, but it was, and he's laughing because he already knows where I'm going with this. We're talking one day, and I was like, yeah, man, I said, my wife's going to get me some stuff for Christmas, and she's going to get me an Atari, and I could set it up in the studio. And he's like, yeah, my grandfather had one of those. I was like, let me do a Sanford and Son and clutch my chest. Oh, that really, yeah. I was like, thanks. Now,
they showed a thing where they had all of the different controllers, and it was the Atari controller, and it worked all the way down through, ColecoVision and whatever. And they go, "What was your first video game?" And I remember Pong. And before Pong, there was a video game system where it blanked out your screen and it was just a dot moving on the screen, and you would have the controller. I have no idea what the name of it was. And what it was is you put the screen, they were wax paper screens.
Oh, wow.
So you'd put like a wax paper screen up on it and tape it to the television. And then it would have like a maze, and you'd make the dot go through the maze.
You sure that wasn't your parents just like, we can't afford an Atari, so we're just going to...
Seriously,
we're going to take some cellophane on this thing. He'll never know the difference with wax paper.
It was just, and that's what it was. And then there was a race car one and a horse race one.
See, that's something my dad would do. He would that would be like, well, son.
But this was a real thing, and I remember that, and people are like, what? Oh, come on. And then,
like,
what kind of BS is that?
He's like, here's a Swiss Army knife. It's a transformer, really, I promise.
So
I remember now you don't have to feel bad.
No,
My
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 dad was
kids were
great to me.
lucky.
I can't. I'm just joking.
My kids were lucky. They came around right at the time when Sega was out, and it switched over, and then there was PlayStation. So they grew up with that. That was the perfect
Well,
one
see,
for
that's
them.
mine did too, and I'm going to tell you this. Here is this is the we always like to do tips and all kind of cool stuff. We just a smorgasbord, right? We throw in there, or that new word we came up with a while ago. We'll have to use that next time. But I'll tell you what. Anybody out there, you can hook up an Atari 2600 to a 4K TV. Okay.
Oh wow.
And it takes some de-engineering of the process. And I googled it and looked it up and finally found something on YouTube. The guy took 6 months to figure this out. So what I'm telling you guys, this poor guy spent 6 months figuring out. And because there's one adapter, it's a little $3 piece, right, to change it from the regular Atari one plug RCA jack into the regular one for like coax. You have to start there. And I thought that's all you needed, because that's what I heard by several people. Oh, do that and plug it right in the TV, you're fine. No, that's bull. I'll tell you right now. Because I miss Radio Shack. God, do I miss Radio Shack. I went to Best Buy, I went to Walmart. All these people, nothing. So I ordered it walking out of Best Buy on Amazon and got it in. So that part, you need that part. You need to run it from there into a VCR, okay? So you run it into a VCR, you put the Atari on channel 3, you put the VCR on channel 3, then you run the three connectors, the red, the yellow, and the white out of the back of the VCR into an upscaler to get to 4K. You take that connection, you run that connection out on an HDMI cable into your 4K, and it works fine. It works beautifully. So I got to go find the VCR in the garage somewhere, and go try to piece it together from there. So another trip to Best Buy is in the near future. So
I miss Radio Shack.
I miss Radio Shack, because whatever you needed, it didn't care what.
And
you
they
were
had
doing.
a catalog too.
Yeah.
They had a catalog. So
Yeah.
I can't even find the one where I'm looking on as we're talking. I can't even find the one. I was trying to see if I could find the one where it was taped. It was taped to the video screen, but I can't find it.
If you wanted to turn your commode into a robot, Radio Shack had the parts to do it.
Right.
Whatever you wanted to do, they had it.
Well, that was the principle behind it. It was, there's auto shops for when you fix your car, and there's home lumber lumber and plumbing shops like Home Depot and whatever. So Radio Shack was for those guys. I remember getting radio controlled cars and helicopters there all the time. And they were cheap too. Like they had racks of things that were like, oh, it's 50 cents. It's like in a little plastic 50 cents.
I took everything apart, was me. So I would take my radio control stuff apart, and then not knowing what the possibilities were. I wish I'd have patented this. I would put it together with my Legos. So my Legos with like helicopters and stuff. My propellers spun and the whole thing. So I was like, if I knew what the patent office was at 7, I'd probably be retired right now.
Wow.
But so back to the cards. Let's tell the listening audience what your current card series is, and kind of where they can get that, what that's about, and kind of how that ties into some things, because that's one of your current projects.
Well, I just finished the Earth Trembles, which was a dinosaur set, and your company Inked worked on that set with me. You did promotions for that, and it came out fantastic.
Thank you very much. You're quite welcome. I love who doesn't love dinosaurs, man?
Well, that was the thing. I actually worked on that set for 2 years. Usually, I'll be honest, I'm a very open book kind of person. When it comes to the market, a lot of companies are afraid to give away their information because they're like, oh, well, it only costs us 2 cents. That's why we're selling it for $5.99, and whatever. But for me, I really worked on that set for 2 years, and I extremely liked it. I photos from all over the world, people from all over the world, I got information from. I could have just as easily done artwork or done models or whatever, but I wanted to do something special for that set, and that set sold really well. It's almost sold out. The new one that we're working on now is called Sketch Jammers. It's basically a special set of Golden Age trading cards. It's actually coming in a gift set. So there's going to be special sketch cards that have never been seen before in the market. And there's a small set of cards because it's going to be coming in volumes, volume one, volume
Mm-hmm.
two, etc. And along with it, we're working on gifts that will come in the box alongside of the set. So there'll be playing cards. We're working on mugs and a few other things. The artwork is going to be very interesting because aside from the unusual sketch cards, there will also be sketch cards in different shapes. So let's say, for example, you work for a company and they have you do cards and they'll say, oh, here's cards in the shape of, I don't know, an apple. So you're drawing your stuff in the shape of an apple, and maybe 500, 600 people will get one, but they're limited. In this case, we have something like 15 different shapes, and there's only 10 of each.
Nice.
So it's going to be super limited. The other thing is that people will never be able to collect the whole set because there will be many variations that go along with it. You'll be actually customizing your own set all the way through.
Well,
So,
that's like I like the thing about the dinosaur cards because it came with unique things like fossil, the teeth and everything, and it
right,
added a little bit extra to the whole package.
we had very special additions to that set. We also did digital cards, and we did signed cards, and we had special versions of cards. So when people got it, they had the ability of tailoring and customizing their set with extras. Some people, it's one and done. They order it, whatever they get, they get. They're happy. They get a big card, they're ecstatic. They get a basic set, they're happy with it. We're happy. But what we
Nice.
try to do is we try to give them something in every set. Like in the Wizard of Oz trading card set, we had authentic pages that were taken from books. We had one book that was from like 1915, another one 1926. Now these were books that were ruined. And what we did was is we contacted collectors and libraries, and pieces of the actual pages were affixed to blank cards. Then we had Wizard of Oz Mardi Gras coins, and we had necklace charms that were added to it, and a bunch of other stuff. Aside from the
That
dinosaur fossils,
that
we
just
also
adds
had.
that adds a little bit to it, though. I think that adds a little bit to each of it.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Trading cards have expanded so much. I mean, some of the basic sports card sets now have, this is a swatch of the uniform. This is a piece of the basketball court floor. Here's a piece of the sneakers that they were wearing, on and on and on, which I thought was kind of cool. So, being a small grassroots studio, we try to compete in that aspect of doing something unusual.
Well, and you succeeded at it because I like the aspect of it. As soon as you started telling about it, I was like, oh, this is going to be wonderful.
Well, we had a lot of problems with that dinosaur set, though. That was hard because of the mail and different problems with COVID and on and on and on. We were up, then we were down, then we were up again. It was just a mess, but we got through it. We're at the point now where we're shipping cards to the artists, so because they're always the last ones to get them. So any artists that are listening, whoops, I'm sorry. I really am.
Hey,
But
don't worry, fellas. I hadn't gotten mine yet either. So
they closed the post office. They
I know. I'm
closed the
just
post
messing with you.
office here, which is terrible. And the nearest post office to us is like 20 miles
Okay.
away. It's
I'm
insane.
I'm gonna okay. I'm just gonna get this off my chest real quick. This is my and Mike's heard this horror story. So has Rusty. So for you listening audience out there, they can go ahead and close the post office as far as I'm concerned. I have no love for the U.S. Postal Service. Okay, it's my postal carrier. Long story short, my postal carrier decided to lie about a package that was delivered. Swore up and down it was delivered to my porch. And had this, like when you're in the seventh grade and you really screw up and you have this long, elaborate story that you've cooked up for your parents with too much extra detail that you could never prove. So that's where she was at. And she explained she almost hit her head on the hanging pot that was on the porch, and she noticed my wife's car outside, what a classic car it was. Of course, the pot is still hanging on the porch when she's giving me this story, and the car is still in the driveway. So it's like she's looking around like I spy, like, what else can I throw in here to say that I've been to this porch before? Okay. And I was like, ma'am, you couldn't have been here because my dogs didn't bark. If a leaf blows outside, they're on like high leaf alert, and they're going to let me know a leaf blew outside. And just so I said, my wife was home all day. You didn't ring the doorbell. You didn't knock. This was a pretty good. So I'm talking. This package was like 2 foot by 2 foot, so you can't not have it. You can't miss it. Oh, it was stolen off your porch, sir. It had to be. I was like, nah, I appreciate it, but I said. She said, well, you really need to file a police report. And she looks around. She goes, I think it got stolen.
Wow.
I said, okay.
Wow.
So I went to
cover your butt time.
Oh,
code for that's not my problem.
Right,
yes,
right.
Yes. And so I went to the post office and stood in line and did my thing and got up there and said, hey, I need the printout of what your postal person told me. It was the GPS printout. Like, hey, this is the package delivered at this time. It was this longitude and latitude, and I'm good. They looked at me and they said, what? I said, well, your carrier said I should come over here. That's why I'm here. And they said, they typed in some stuff, and they said, oh, hang on 1 second. They went to the back. They come back. Guess what they walked out with? My package. Imagine that. So I was like, I said, so her whole thing was a lie. Okay. Well, since then, it's like playing cloak and dagger with our mail service. Like, she drove off the other day with packages of ours in her truck, smiling and waving. And I was like, oh, that's just not right.
Jesus.
That's just not right.
Continues.
and the saga continues, and that's where I'm going to leave it because there's more to it than that. But you don't even want to get me started on that one.
Let's make a one-off comic.
We need to. That's a great idea. We have this. There's two things that we can make: the one-off comic about the mail, and then I want to make a comic about. And so if somebody out there steals this, you heard it here first. I want to make a comic about air travel, flights and airports, the whole thing during the COVID world, because that is a whole different animal.
Wow.
So yeah, those two things. We need to make the air traffic COVID flying thing, and we need to do something about the U.S. Postal Service. We'll probably get sued by the Postal Service because they have no checks and balances. Anybody you call to ask what's going on,
nobody knows anything.
Nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
Nobody knows anything. So
I think that answers. I think that answers itself right there. Nobody knows anything.
Yeah. So for all you people out there that are wondering where your Gemini package is at, and you swore to God that somebody mailed it to you, it's probably sitting at the U.S. Postal Service.
Man, you didn't hear in the news they found like 600 Amazon packages off the highway in Ohio.
Is that the one where the guy dumped them all in a ditch?
Yeah, they were supposed to be at people's houses for Christmas. Over 600 packages. I was like, wow, I guess he's not.
And then there was the train. Did you hear the story about the train? The train. This train was loaded with gifts, not just Amazon, but a ton of postal stuff. And the train was was like routed to another track, and all the cars were open, all the stuff was laying on the ground. People ripped it open, stole the money out of all the envelopes, stole the bags that the post office put the stuff in, ripped open the stuff. Something like 500 PlayStation 5s were stolen right off the trains.
On Sony.
We're literally talking about Boxcar Willie here. We're literally, it's insane. I can't imagine that people. They're just between you guys and me, but I got to tell you something.
Vast listening audience we have out there. It's just between us
and millions of fans outside.
It's just between us, everybody.
But I don't know how people have the balls to do the stuff that they do. I can't even think about ripping off a gumball when I was a kid, and I can't think about it now. I find a penny on the ground, and I'm looking for who dropped it.
You're nervous. You're like, whose is this? Yeah.
Right.
My mom, I love her to death. God rest her soul. She taught me at a young age. And I have it packed in a box, and I got to get it out for the desk amongst the other figures you guys see here. But a Star Wars figure. I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and I found it at the store. And I'm playing with it, and I just kept playing with it on out of the store. It was already out of the box. I didn't open it. It was already out. And I got to the house, or I weren't quite to the house yet. And she looked over and showed me play. Well, where'd you get that? Well, I found it at the store back there. She turned around. We went to the store. She found the store manager. I had to apologize for shoplifting the loose figure that I found on the rack. So I bought the figure later in life, and I keep it on my desk as a reminder.
That's a great. That's a great mom, though.
Man, I was
That's a
mortified.
great mom, though.
It is. She did the right thing, and I was mortified at 6 years old that this happened.
With all the crap that's going on in the world today, I won't even get into the politics and the wokeness and whatever. We don't have parents like that anymore.
Man, yeah, we're going to have to have a
don't.
special show, because when we stop whipping kids and start doing participation trophies, it's a whole different world. Okay?
We should invite Joe Rogan. He loves
oh, man, he would love that.
Wait a minute. I think I see a participation trophy on Mike's shelf behind him there.
That's the fun thing.
But yeah, you're right. You're right. I have 4 boys, and none of them got that kind of upbringing.
Oh, I told my oldest one time.
You compete for real.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing if you want to go easy on somebody, but you always do your best. And
they don't come with instructions.
Listen, I got to tell you, I competed. I was a professional wrestler. I played pro volleyball for years, beach volleyball for clubs. And I got to tell you, no matter how good you are, there's always someone better. I had a wrestling belt a couple of times. I lost it just as much as I won it. And we won beach trophies and on and on and on. You know, that's the way it goes. It's not like getting a participation certificate or an award. That's like saying, like, thanks for being here. You know, your waitress tells you that when you eat something.
Yeah, it's like,
you're manipulating the serotonin release in the brain.
Like graduations now are like 8 hours long, right? Because every kid in the graduating class, even like little Steve over in the corner that did nothing until his 12th grade year but eat boogers, gets a booger eating certificate. I
can't tell you the story. I can't tell you the story on air, because your audience would hate all of us. But after we get off, I have to tell you about.
I'm going to get an email from Booger Steve now. and every parent
here it is
of a Booger Steve. Yeah, it's valid. It's right here. It's stamped and everything. It's got gold foil on it.
And then they stopped trying, though, after that.
They did, man.
Well, you know what it is?
It's like, I don't have to do anything else anymore.
Their version of trying something now comes with no responsibility at all. Right. So if they go and, you tell them, like, hit this ball, kick this ball, whatever, all the way up to, solve this puzzle, there's no authentication to it. Well, I could only go so far. I didn't understand. Gee, I'm sorry. I don't really play games like that. Everybody has a complaint. Mm-hmm. Everybody blames it on someone else. Everybody, whatever. I can't pass the buck like that.
No, you can't. And all of us that are, all 3 of us in the room here are creators. So you can't. None of us can blame it on anybody else, right? It's yours. It's your product. You put it together. You put it out there.
Right.
You may have teamed up with people to do it, but at the end of the day, it's your name stamped on it, right?
That's what I tell people when I do stuff. I actually just recently, I don't want to name names because that's rude.
Just write it down and hold it up, and we just won't say it.
Yeah, right. Like I said, I don't want to name names or anything. It just rhymes with Steve. Anyway,
Booger Steve's back.
Yeah, but I went ahead and I got a pinup from somebody. They wanted me to ink it. And then the guy goes, well, you know what? We'd like to actually use it as a cover. Would you be interested? Because I'm primarily an inker. So I say, okay. So I get the file. I open it up in Photoshop. And usually I try to do things like take out unnecessary nonsense, borders, and maybe they had dirt on their scanner, a hair here and there, whatever, and adjust it so I can work. And I looked at it and I said to the publisher, I said, listen, this is not good. I said, no offense to the artist, but I said, this is really not good. I said, if you want this to represent your book, you're going to need another artist to go over it. And I said, I know that inkers get hired to put their interpretation over the pencils. But I said, in this case, I would be redrawing it.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think this is good. So the publisher went back and talked to the person who penciled it, and they dropped out of the project.
Wow.
So I said, "Oh,
thin
okay.
skin.
Right." And
Totally missed an opportunity to work with Rusty. I mean, he could have learned something.
I appreciate that, but I appreciate that, but you know what? I don't really look at myself as anything bigger than anybody else.
Right.
I would you really are only as good as your weakest link.
Yeah.
So even if
Or your
you get
last
somebody,
project, for that matter.
Yeah, I
right,
was about to
right,
say that the
exactly.
industry says that a lot.
Right.
Mhm.
So if you get somebody that's gigantic, you know, a Joe Sinnott or a huge inker, and they're working with a kindergarten artist, well, then you're only as good as that kindergarten artist, no matter how big you are.
Yeah,
So, and I'm not. I don't brag. I'm not. So I went ahead and I contacted the artist that dropped out, and I told him, I said, "This is what's wrong. The elbow is wrong." I said, "You're turning it. You got light source coming from here, shadows here, and whatever." And I said, "The person's head is a little too flat," and on and on and on. And I showed them pictures from comics
Right.
that were already done. Now, you shouldn't really do that because you shouldn't look at other people's work, and you shouldn't really look at flat media. But I went ahead and I showed this person, you know, the chest muscles and on and on and on. I even showed them some pieces from the old X-Men cartoon back in '96, and I'm like, this is something that you should look at, because they actually tried doing comic art, and that's why Disney Plus is bringing it back now too. So
Yeah.
we're
So
talking,
happy.
and I said, you know, don't walk away from the project because the publisher said something. I said, I was the one that said your work wasn't good enough for what we were doing. I didn't say it was bad. I just said it wasn't good enough. I said, if you get better and we work together, maybe it would be okay.
Yeah.
Well, the person did as much as they could and could only go so far in like a week, because, you know, some artwork, any skill, I don't care if you're a plumber or a painter or whatever, any skill takes time to hone.
Oh, it does.
And
It does.
I said, you know, let's
Even writers.
just keep working. But I didn't ace the person out because of an attitude or an ego, and it had nothing to do with my skill. But if I'm going to put my name on something, it has to be my best.
Right.
Otherwise, there's no point in hiring me either.
But it also has to do with the fact that at least you stepped up and said something, because at least you said, hey, for the betterment of the project, hey, this is something you may need to look at or think about. And there's that's, you got to kind of, not everybody does that. And
Some people just take their paycheck and go home.
Yeah, and the toughest thing in the industry is, I hear again and again and again from all these creators all the time, is the trouble they have with artists, right? Mm-hmm. Either artists just vanishing off the planet, like if you're working out of country and you've hired somebody and they just poof. You don't know if their village got wiped out by a typhoon, or are they just decided not to work that week. You just don't know. I mean, there's a lot of talented people all over the world. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I hear all these stories. We could spend the next 3 hours talking about all the stories I've heard.
And to interject something, it gets worse because the internet is the great bridge.
Yes.
So, like when I was younger, I would actually go into the studio, and artists would hand me.
Oh, he froze. Did we lose him?
Maybe. Could you imagine that though?
Yeah.
I
was
there.
there.
You didn't have the internet. Backpacking to Malaysia so your artist could write your.
There
comic.
you go. So he could ink your stuff. I remember the Rusty. I'm going to pull you out real quick and then see if we can remove you and pop you back in. The max headroom there for a second. Oh, there you go. Now you see you.
It was weird because all I saw was 3 black squares. I'm like, oh God, you know, what did I do? I kept thinking to myself, geez, let's get rid of one of these guys.
See, that's
which one? And
then
they both disappeared.
we both took a hiatus. No, that's somebody. There's somebody in the internet somewhere that was watching them. Went, oh, okay, we'll go ahead and just freeze that. I don't like that comment.
It was the Postal Service.
Oh, there you go. Postal Service is listening. I hope they are,
like
really.
That,
honestly.
I don't like that fat guy. Let's.
Man, they got to narrow that one down because I got to lose a few myself. So.
Well, like I was saying, I had very famous artists would send me tracings that they did. They would send me pages ripped out of a book. They'd send me sketches. books that were paper clipped open, and they'd be like Gil Kane turn around and said, "This is how you draw a hand." And he was the one that taught me how to have a cheat book. Now, a lot of people hear that word and they get all upset, but the word cheat doesn't mean the exact same thing. It's like a cousin.
It's
and
like crib notes for artists.
Right. And what he did was, and I don't mind spilling this, what he did was is he would have like in the Atom, he drew like Green Lantern, the Atom, and he'd have like a hand like this, and then he would clip that out and put it in a photo album. And then the hand would be like this, and then it would be like this and like this, and then from all different media, magazines, drawings,
all the masters
whatever.
did that. If you go back through your art history, all the masters kept sketchbooks like that.
But he was the one that taught me.
Yeah.
Because stupid me, I never would have known how to do any of that. When I walked into this industry, I have to tell you, I had one foot in dog crap and the other in quicksand, and I didn't know which way I was going. My famous phrase: "I was a blind man in a minefield," and they took me out, and Jack Kirby gave me my first crow quill to learn how to ink, and I stopped penciling that day and started inking.
Do you still have that? Do you still
have
Yes.
Yes.
Man, what a thing to have.
I have some old tools. I wish I could show you. I don't have the ability to get it right now, but I have a giant protractor that was at Marvel that was sitting from the pulp days back in 1926.
Wow.
And I have like old, like this pica pole was from one of the guys that I worked with at DC.
Wow.
And it's basically a metal ruler.
Yeah.
Everything wore off on the back because you put it on the thing. But it is literally a pica pole.
I know them well.
And I love this.
I know your other kids may find offense to this, but if you could go ahead and just adopt me, that way you can will me in, the quill from Jack Kirby. That's the only thing I need. And I will be fine with that. They can keep the house and everything.
Here's what will happen. That's in a box. I'll pull it out someday and put it on display, and it'll look really nice. And then, I'll eat a chicken wing, which I'm known to do from time to time, and choke on a bone and die at the boards.
Oh,
and then the kids will go through and they'll find the crow quill, and they'll be like, "I think this fell off of a Star Wars figure."
Yeah.
And that's the end of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a 1 minute shelf life if it even has that, and it bounces really good.
I digress. I know we've kind of wandered around from all the different vintage things that we have around us. You can see my office, like I said, is where
I have so many pages of art, so many personal signed things, Christmas cards from Stan Lee.
Wow.
On Marvel stationery. Rich Buckler, who was my dear friend out of anyone in the industry, who passed away. I've got so much stuff of his, original stuff from Jim Lee, cards from all different kinds of people that were in the industry, going all the way back, pages and unused covers from the EC horror stuff, going all the way back. It's all sitting in boxes. I mean, you can't really put it out. I don't have the room for it.
I get the collecting bug from my mother, right? Which came from my grandmother on my mom's side. So when I planned out the studio in my head, and what you see now is the perfect 10-year-old's room. Like if I had the perfect room for a 10-year-old, this would be it. And I filled it with everything that nostalgia, right? Everything that meant something to me at that age point. And it's like I was at a flea market in Georgia, and I saw all of this race car memorabilia out on a table.
Wow.
For pennies on the dollar. I'm talking like old Richard Petty stuff, and I was like, wow, this stuff is just ridiculously cheap. And there was 3 daughters sitting there like, yeah, our dad died, and this was all the stuff he had, and we just want to get rid of it. I mean, it was literally like below garage sale prices on this stuff, and this was very, all this stuff was hugely expensive, especially NASCAR stuff, and it was unreal. I mean, that's what I thought about. I was like, wow, my kids are going to do the same. I was like, look, I told them the other day, I said, there's a few comics that I have that will probably put your kids through school if you know what to do with them. So I will leave you instructions. This is not to go to the dollar store, or this is not to be, chucked and passed out, and this is just there's stuff in here that's where you see that. I always got to do like you. I go like, which shoulder am I on? So over this shoulder, which you see is over beside me, is the signed poster from from Flash Gordon. And that was when I talked with Sam Jones in person in Denver,
right? And
sat down with him, and he signed the poster, he was excited to see the poster. I was like, man, you got to see like 50 of these a show. He's like, no, I don't.
No, they're rare, and the funny thing about that poster, you've shown it to me before, is a lot of posters were short prints, and a lot of them were used for different things. Like, for example, the famous Star Wars poster that had the wrong title on it. It had the original title was in short print. But my thing, I wish I had the picture available. I don't want to waste your time, but my thing was I had the bus bench Walking Dead poster thrown at me at a convention to sign and draw a picture on. We're talking about something that was literally 6.5 feet tall by 4 feet wide, and he had it signed by at least 100 people. Wow. He would fly this thing over to the UK and get people to sign it, and he would go down to Atlanta and he would sit there in the rain, in the cold, in the snow, whatever it was, and wait for them, because they would drive out and go to that little village attached to where they shoot, which is all walled off. There's an actual Walking Dead village there.
Yep, I have been there.
Oh, really?
Yes, I have.
You have to tell me about that.
We'll have a whole show on that one day. But it's about, I was a big Walking Dead fan and got a chance to meet most of the crew. I've hung out with Reedus multiple times. Nice person. He was really, the first time I met him was in New Orleans, and we talked for a long time. We talked with my son, who at the time was 10, and this was kind of the height of the Walking Dead. And he talked to him just like we're talking, just old friends, and it just really made a great memory for my son.
Great.
I gained a lot of respect for Norman Reedus at that time.
I worked on the show on the first season. I worked on a couple of the card sets, and I worked on some merchandise as an artist, and I became really good friends with a lot of the walkers because I see them at shows. They'll invite me to a show as a guest, and I'll be sitting there, and somebody will walk up like all scraggly and everything, and I'll be like, I bet you were a walker. Yeah.
Now, the funny thing was, when we went to the I've been to a few of them, and one of the ones that I went to one time, this was right when the bat with the barbed wire came out, right?
Right.
And so there's like 800 bats in front of me, all wrapped in barbed wire. Yeah. Everybody wanted to be that particular character, and so I get up to the thing, and I go through the metal detector, and my stuff goes off, and I probably had steel toes on at the time, cowboy boots, and the other thing was, because I never tip. Never travel in Atlanta without wearing steel toes and a pocket knife, because you will need it. So that's how I always used to travel in downtown Atlanta. So I don't remember if this was the Atlanta show we were at. And so I walked through the thing, and of course it went off, and I explained, and then I pulled out the pocket knife, and then of course 2 cops walk up. I was like, wait a minute. You just let 800 bats with barbed wire through, and you're worried about a 6-inch pocket knife, which they're like, oh, you have to fill out a special form. I was like, look, it's not my grandfather's pocket knife. It's not an heirloom. You can just keep it. You can throw it in the trash. I have tons of them. So he's like, oh, you sure? I'm like, positive. There you go. But yeah, I just thought that was funny that everybody was letting in the bat, and
Yeah, I drew a picture.
There was tons of Lucille's, but no pocket knife was coming in.
I drew a picture of what's his name? I can't think of his name. The one that had Lucille.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now of course you just. Huh?
Was it
Regan?
Negan?
Yeah,
Negan. I drew a picture of Negan on someone's bat, and it looked authentic. Like they had the bat, and it had the barbed wire, and she's handling it like and she's like handing it to me, and I'm like, ooh, you want me to draw a picture on this? And I've got my Sharpie pen like all ready, and I'm about to draw on it. Yeah. The bat's made of rubber, and the barbed wire is rubber, and on and on and on. And she's got pictures of after I drew it, she hit me over the head with it. That's and funny. People were taking pictures. I thought it was a real thing. This thing was all rubber.
Now
this thing was all rubber.
They had a bunch of real ones go through, but I'm going to tell you what, some of the people in line with me had the real deal.
Yeah, the real thing, yeah.
And there was no mistaking, I mean, but like I said, there is some very authentic replicas out there, and you pay
That's
like high
cool.
dollar for some of these replicas. But no,
That's
that village is about maybe 45 minutes south of Atlanta, 30, 45 minutes. And
That's so cool.
What's funny on the show is different seasons of the show, which are supposed to be hundreds of miles away, are
Right.
like across the street from each other. Of course, that's
Right.
Hollywood.
Well,
So
that's yeah.
they,
It's just like when people used to watch the Andy Griffith show.
yeah,
The whole downtown was shot right across the street from where Gomer's garage and Goober's garage was, because of the angle, and then across the street from that was where they shot Gomer Pyle USMC.
right.
And if you looked like a wide angle, you'd see like 5 different shows, neighborhoods.
Oh,
But
yeah.
because of the fact that they shot one way versus the other, or like what we were talking about before about when we did wrestling,
Yeah, we
they used
talked
to
about
shoot
yeah.
it on an L pattern. You'd never see what was on the other L.
No.
It was all junk. Like
Well-
it would be boxes and tables with Danish on it and,
Yeah.
and whatever. But the other side was an arena.
Well,
You
the
know,
other
it was packed.
that little village, you can go tour it, and it's actually the one that actually has the silos that you see in the first season in the
That's
opening
awesome.
credits. And I've walked through the silos. I've seen where Michael Rooker turned into a zombie. You get to
Right.
reenact some stuff. There's a walking tour. I'm trying to think of the name of the walking tour. I'll think about it in a second. Something Road, Gypsy Rose walking tour. And you go to all these places. You go to the barn where they had the discussion, with the governor and stuff.
Right.
Which, when Norman Reedus looks through the window and watches, Rick Grimes' character and stuff talking with the governor and that whole, you can't look in the window. The window's like 8 foot in the air, so they actually had to build
Right.
a prop for Norman to step on to look through the window. So there's all those kind of little things that you learn, and then everybody in downtown, which is cool, all the little shops and stuff. It's an actual town. All the shops in downtown know the episode they were in. Like when you go in the shop, it's kind of cool because the candy store will be like, yeah, it was in episode 111, and then a zombie got his head smashed on here on episode 134, and
That's
over
great.
there somebody died in 130. Yeah, they know all their episodes.
See,
And-
I missed out on all of that. Like people always ask me all the time. They say, "Oh, you worked on Walking Dead. You worked on Doctor Who. You worked on this. How is what's his name? What's
Yeah.
she like?
Yeah.
Did you get to meet any cool people?" And I'm like, I woke up. I went and used the bathroom. I made a cup of tea. I stayed in my pajamas all day long. I
Yep.
sat at my desk with the TV on and drew pictures. Then I either mailed stuff or internet emailed stuff and stayed in my pajamas when I went back into the living room and played video games and went to bed.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as did you meet somebody. I was
Exactly.
lucky I didn't trip over the cat when I had to use the bathroom.
So somebody
So-
posted
My hero.
the other.
My hero. That's the dream life right
That's
there.
the dream, right? Somebody posted. I'm trying to think who it
It's
was.
okay.
the
I'm
other day.
wearing a shirt that I got for Christmas, and I'm wearing the rest of me as pajamas and socks.
There
And
you
I don't
go.
think I've changed. I don't think I've changed for a week.
Well, somebody showed. I kind of wish I could see it. Somebody showed a picture that day on Facebook of a true solo artist Christmas party, and it was like one guy sitting at a table, and it was one guy sitting in front of a turkey, and it was one
Right.
guy sitting at the park, and of course it's just him in different settings that you would see for Christmas parties, but it's just the
Sure.
true artist Christmas party. I was like,
Now I
no.
could not to turn it serious or anything, but I could tell you for real. My boys are almost 30. I have 4 boys. The first 2 are twins, and they're almost 30, and then the other ones are younger 20s. And about a year before the oldest ones, I started working at home in a room. And then I cultivated a studio in the various places that we've lived. Now, we live in Pennsylvania past 23, 24 years, and I've had the same room all the way through in this house. And I got to tell you, it is like that. I wake up, I walk right in here, turn on the television, and all I do is work. Unless somebody comes to the door or walks in, I don't see a soul.
Well, which
And
is
I literally wake up Christmas morning. We sit and we have breakfast with the family. We open up all of our presents. We do whatever. And then when they're ready to do okay, well, we're going to have lunch in a couple of hours. I'll go back into the studio and I'll work for the whole day.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it's time for lunch, I got to close the lid on the laptop
Well,
and I got to put the pencil down.
See, that's I talked to a buddy of mine the other day, and we were talking about versatility in your office and how key it was to be able to do things. So I told him, I said, yeah, when I set this space up, it's in a giant L shape. Okay, so the studio set up for the shows. I'm actually, like I tell people, and if you hadn't heard the listening audience, I'm actually looking up at a 70-inch monitor, and it's like Rusty and Mike are in the room with me. I mean, it's full size. So they're in front of me. The camera's on this side, and then there's, of course, the TV behind it. I don't have the light rings on today because I changed some studio setup for 2022. I added the setup you see here with the mic, and so I'm changing the lighting right now. But other than that, you see up again behind me to this side, the inked family wall, which is all the different books that he's helped be the marketing on for. There's, of course, the guest ghost that Rusty has as a sidekick. But we've done that, and then I'm adding another part of the L on this side to be able to get back to doing some handwork, some actual hand drawing stuff. I've got some covers coming up soon, so I've got to get back and dust off the old ratchet and start being able to draw again. And I'm looking forward to that because so I'm actually can swivel. I can swivel over here because I have the wireless keyboard over here that I'm working the screen with and all the stuff that you see that I see on the side for the studio. I can jump back here. I can work regularly. I can spin around and work behind me, and then I'm just swiveling. If I could I'd rip off my headphones if I did. But if I just spun around in a chair and just kept circling around.
So you're lucky you can do that. For me, this is where
that's where the action happens, huh?
Yeah, and this is it. I do everything right on this desk, all the writing, all the voice work, everything. No swivel, no nothing. The television is right on this side here, and that's it. Printer, fax, everything is all there.
We can't all be as cool as Kev.
Yeah.
Man, this was now, granted,
God, Kevin, rub our noses into it. Damn.
This is over time. This is
He's very proud
for what you do, those are the tools of the trade.
It is.
Because if I had to do what you do, I would probably have a similar setup.
I
would make it
it's
better.
Like herding cats, man, or landing the space shuttle. I mean, it's like there's a lot going on. I mean,
I would make it better than yours, though. It would be so much better.
It'd be so much better. It'd be so much more. Yeah, you gotta. And this, like I said, this is accumulation over time. In this studio, I was spoiled of the one in Colorado because the one in Colorado was easily. I'm just looking around. Was easily twice this size. Yeah. And it was the whole bottom. It was the basement, right? It was the whole bottom floor of our house, and it had a bar set up in it. One side was all toys. The other half, then there was the bar. Then the other half was like 360 degrees comics because there was a drop down in the ceiling. Right. That was a lot of fun. Now again, at that point in Colorado, I just had the one monitor set up, so anything was like right there, and I had to move all the stuff out of the way to do the podcast, to bring everything back. To the interviews.
You have to be adaptable.
Yeah,
I remember when we were in our old house, my desk was in the living room, off to the side by the television. So I would be working, and anybody that was watching television, I would be hostage to whatever they were working. When I was in Vegas, when I lived there, I was in the corner of a bedroom, and I was basically all alone. So I would have like my desk, and I would have a landing in front of a big picture window to put stuff on, and I could throw stuff all over the bed, which was right there. This is great because this room is huge. I would probably say this is maybe 1.5 times the size of a master bedroom in a house.
Nice. See,
but the problem is that it's a lot of storage. I keep saying, once I finish what I'm doing, I'll clean up and I'll get stuff going. Maybe for the past 10 years I've said that. And as the 10 years goes by, I keep adding boxes.
You do. You do. And it gets, I tell the story all the time. When I first moved out and got my first apartment, the things that I owned were the VC-TVR combo. I had one video cassette. I had one. It was Spies Like Us. I've seen Spies Like Us probably 858 times. Okay. I had the Spies Like. It was the only video, and I'm in college. I had the one video cassette. I had a bed, and I think I might have had a couch, and that was it. That's in my clothes. That was all. That's all I owned when I went into college. Now, granted, you accumulate. My wife and I had this conversation joking the other day because we're downsizing right now. When we met, I moved to Georgia in a pickup truck with two totes in the back of it, and my clothes thrown behind the seat. And a little bit of stuff stored over at my parents' house, like some stuff that I didn't want to move around at the time, like comics and stuff. So that's how I moved to Georgia. And I moved into a 700 square foot house. Now, granted, there you go. For the listening audience, Rusty has changed his name to Kevin Isn't Wearing Any Pants. I am. And the funny thing is, I had to have minor surgery today. I had to go to the doctor for my foot. And so I'm in the same warm-ups that I wore to the doctor, and they're flaming hot Cheetos and they're awesome. Okay, so they're very comfortable. So I'm in my flaming hot Cheetos. So there's the life of artist, right? We're all in pajamas. I don't know, Mark. You wearing pajamas or you like blue jeans? Are you going to break the fad here?
I might not be wearing anything.
Mike, it's pantsless Mike. See, now that's so. That's all I owned at the time. So we get married, and I bring her stuff over, and I bring it in one U-Haul van. We stayed in Georgia for 2 more years. We left Georgia in half of an 18-wheeler. When we stayed, so we moved to Colorado. We're getting ready to leave Colorado to move to Washington State, where we're at now. 2 years in Georgia, half an 18-wheeler. The other half of the 18-wheeler came in the 2 years in Colorado, because when we left Colorado, they were struggling to get stuff in the 18-wheeler. I was like, this, because we were in a 4-story house in Colorado. I was like, this is just not happening. There's 2 of us, okay? 2 of us and 3 dogs. They damaged a bunch of stuff bringing it over here. Like, I have a bunch of stuff on card and a bunch of stuff. I was like, you know what? I kind of feel like Toy Story now. I just want to rip everything open and let it out of the box, okay? I know I just crushed about 15 people listening that are like into toys. I crushed their soul right now because don't touch the box. No, I can't anymore because so much stuff got damaged. You see my desk. My desk is covered with everything out of the box. They run around at night and do their own thing. You know, it's I can't do it anymore. I can't do the keep it in a box. Now there's a few things I have in the box, like if you see behind me, there's the boxed, stuff up on the wall. A lot of that stuff is signed, and that's signed by, I got a bunch of stuff signed by the Walking Dead cast on the box. I got a bunch of stuff signed, Yondu. I'm a big fan of Yondu. Michael Rooker, Michael Rooker signed some stuff on the box for Walking Dead. He signed some stuff for Yondu. He signed that when that came out. So those things will stay in the box. Everything else, it's like screaming freedom on that Mel Gibson show, right? They're all coming out of the box, and we're just gonna have a Christmas party. And my wife's the same way. She's like, you know what? I'm just not gonna. She got a bunch of stuff signed in the box too. That stuff's staying. Now, granted, okay, we waited 2 extra hours in line for the woman who plays. God, I just blanked her name. What's it? Michonne. The lady who plays Michonne. I'm trying to think of her real name, but the lady who plays Michonne.
I can't think of her name. I don't think I can pronounce it. 2
hours for her because she was stuck in hair and makeup. She shaves her head. Okay.
Yeah.
What hair job did she have to go through? Is what I want to know. But anyway, I just thought that was funny. Oh, we're waiting on her. She's stuck in hair and makeup. She shaves her head. Anyway? Great woman.
On the name, but I don't want to butcher it.
Oh,
yeah. I know the name, but no way.
But all the cast is.
I think it's Danae Guerrera.
Something like that.
Danae Guerrera.
Dana, is that what that's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Deny. I know it's Deny.
Deny. Okay. We are so sorry.
I don't know how to. Yeah, I don't know the last name.
She's so nice, but all of them are not. I mean, all of them are. But if you're a Walking Dead fan, you can get a map of where things are going on out there. You can see all the sites. You can go check it out. There's placards down the city. The city's actually on an angle, and it's kind of cool because if you got up at the top and got on a skateboard, you could go all the way down the bottom and never have to do anything. But it's a lot of other stuff was filmed there. Fried Green Tomatoes was filmed there. Footloose was filmed there, and everything has their little, because people are lured to Georgia because of the tax thing and the whole movie industry thing. That's a whole other topic. But there's these placards, these circular placards on the ground. I think it's circular square. I don't remember. But there's placards anyway on the ground of all these different movies and what was shot there, and it's really interesting when you get into that kind of stuff. But go there if you're a fan. Go there, look it up. I'll try to see if next show I can remember the name of it and actually put that out there. But it's about 30-45 minutes south of Atlanta, and it's Helen. No, God, I'll think of it in a second. But it's a great place. It's fun, and it's worth the trip. Go look up Gypsy Rose and go take a tour. Now, going back to things, the other thing that you mentioned you had coming out, you said that we talked about the tons of cards. I mean, Rusty, I'm always seeing these cool things that I could be like in the doctor's office like I was a while ago, and all these cool cards come loading in my phone, and it's all the stuff he's working on. Like I said, he'll like crank out cards. I'm sitting in the waiting room, and I'm sitting there, in the waiting room, and of course I'm not just sitting there. I'm like posting stuff up because that's what I'm doing while I'm in the waiting room, and he's over there cranking out cards left and right. That was awesome to see. Now the other thing is we want to touch on is another project that's about to come out is do you want to talk about a little bit about the cookbook for a second? You want to talk about
actually that's going to be an exciting one. I started, this is kind of a mixed story. I'll keep this very short because
we never keep our story short. Don't start lying now.
Listen. I know it's a 4-hour show. I have to fill up the time. I have to fill up the time somehow.
Stretch out the story.
That's it.
We both do it.
I started working on Mac and Trouble about 10, 11 years ago, but about 5 or 6 years before that, I was working on a cookbook. So it's about 16, 17 years ago. I had gotten a couple of artists to put some artwork together. This was before I started working on Mac and Trouble. This one is going to be completely brand new. I have the original recipes that went in, and these are old recipes. We're talking. I'm also going to be having recipes that were based on like for example, celebrity recipes and guest recipes, and there's going to be artwork in the book from like that one. That's from Dan Gorman, who's an amazing sketch card artist, comic book artist with tons of credits. I don't have a piece right now from him, but Jay Moores, who's an artist partner of mine, is also going to be doing artwork. And what we're talking about with these is it's basically artwork, comics that haven't been seen, hundreds of recipes, and we're going to be doing a campaign which your company Inc. is going to be a part of as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this more for the cookbook or for the cooking aspect than we are for the comic aspect.
Right. More of a comic theme cookbook, so to speak.
Right. I'm looking to a company right now about possibly getting salt and pepper shakers so that there's a Mac and Trouble awesome. Shaker, oven mitts. There's going to be special themed recipe cards. There's also going to be, the normal sketch cards, stickers. I'm going to give you a first because I haven't announced this to anybody, but there's actually going to be a sketchbook cover for the cookbook, which has never been done before.
Nice.
The goal is to do the crossover and have it so that one person looks at it and it's comic themed. Another person looks at it, well, it's cats. And then another person looks at it and, it's, what do you call it? The cookbook aspect. Hopefully the uniqueness will carry over for it. And
you'll have to put like what is that litter box cake recipe in there just to, cat it up a little bit.
Well, my goal for doing the cookbook is I want to give people a chance to experience like the Mac and Trouble fun that we have. We put out a bunch of Mac and Trouble comics and books. There's actually going to be a best of that's going to be coming out later this year.
I can't wait for that one.
We did a best of for my symbol character, which is a Golden Age patriotic character. And it actually did really well. We had a brand new 20-something page story written by Don Smith, who's an incredible retro and horror writer. And then we had reprints of stories going all the way back to the mid-90s, because originally I had created the symbol for Marvel. And what happened was the project that I was working on was shot down. And when basically it came time to pull it off the shelf, I said, listen, guys, I'd like to just have it back and do my own thing with it. And we started using it for whatever. It was actually eyed as a toy, but I pulled back because, not every deal is good no matter what it is. And Sci-Fi Channel actually looked at it because they were interested in doing, an online film for it. So hoping to use it for the new Mac and Trouble animated film that we're working on now with a studio in the UK called Bombitos. And they have their own channel on Roku and on Amazon and YouTube. They do some great children's cartoons, and they do a wrestling cartoon, which I do a voice for also. And they're a lot of fun. And they're going to be producing the Mac and Trouble. It's basically a 1-hour animated film. And you'll be able to see them with superheroes and zombies, and it's going to be an action. It looks like it could be like a Warner Brothers cartoon, but it's more like Ninja Turtles, where there's action to it. So, but the cookbook, I want the cookbook to, emulate that fun and passion that comes from Mac and Trouble. They're basically 2 4-foot cats. Comic book looking cats, but they're in the real world. So instead of, like the way that Ninja Turtles are, they're, they're, these 5-foot turtles, 6-foot turtles, whatever, but they're walking around in the real world. That's what Mac and Trouble are like.
I saw the preview stuff that was online the other day, and I love the wrestling aspect, and then the fact that, they flash forward to the living room. Do you have that video that you have pulled up, or that one, or the sketch card video? I was looking for either one.
I have to look. Hold on a second. Just give me a split second here.
You might be able to faster get to it than I can. The also maybe the Sketch Jammers video real quick as well.
Oh, yeah.
Slightly disappointed because when he said Mac and Trouble, I thought there was going to be a cookbook about a way to enhance my mac and cheese, and I just got excited.
The Mac and Trouble mac and cheese recipe, I think, is a must now. So
there is a mac and cheese recipe, just for clarity.
Let me see if I'm not really sure how to do this. How do I share the video?
Go ahead and bring it up and share the screen, and it should say something on it about allow audio. And then go ahead and put it up there, and we'll see.
Mine just says video file, so let me see if that's the one. I'm terrible with the with this stuff. I usually don't do it.
Well, I can draw it real quick and we can flip book it.
Is that it?
Looks like it. There it goes.
Nice.
That is the magnificent and beautiful Kevin's work.
That's a piece that was put together through Fallout Studios, our sister company, and Fallout Studios. We do all the information, all that gets gathered up and put together, and we have these fun taking that information and turning it into these what we call animations, and basically just bringing people's artwork to life. And we're going to have to do the episode. You'll see a couple of them later in the episode during previews, but that is something that comes together from Luke and I. And Luke is an extremely talented animator and writer in his own right. And we put our heads together and come up with these wonderful things. And he's got a lot of stuff he does with movies as well, and has put, got all these movie credits and TV credits that you wouldn't think of, like movie and stuff. Like the one that gets me is the one he's got a long list of accolades as well for like crime TV shows that you wouldn't think of, like the theme music that goes on to these murder TV solve 'em shows and stuff. That he's got all that kind of stuff done, man.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I tell people, I said, if an artist and a DJ hooked up to start a company, that's Fallout Studios. And that's just, we have a lot of fun, man, bringing this stuff together.
Well, that video is a little bit of awesome because we've shown that video all over the place and uploaded it everywhere, and we've had good fun with that. We have that was a great piece from you guys.
Well, thanks. We had a lot of fun with that one because we were trying to think of that. That whole dynamic age of comics was really that's we wanted to push that, and then of course show the aspect, saying it without saying it, right? Showing the aspect of you have this card, and that's the whole point of the sketch jammers is that they can have things drawn on them, and that was.
I have this is the screen of what the sketch cards look like from the video. And basically what it is we put together packs of 10 and 20, and people actually buy the sketch cards. Now you have to look at the way the sketch card market is. These are promotional sketch cards. There are some people who make sketch cards and sell them on a private market. There's others where the sketch cards become part of a set, which is what I work on a lot. I just got done working on a Western trading card set where I did sketch cards for Upper Deck, and I'm just about to start doing baseball cards for Tops. Nice. So this is the way those go. This is actually a promotional card. Consider it like a promo card for the Sketch Jammer set, which is coming up. And that little pencil that you see at the bottom, that's actually the logo that will be accompanying all of the Sketch Jammer sets. So when the Golden Age set does its volume 1, there'll be like 3 or 4 heroes. Mm-hmm. And then when it does its volume 2, there'll be 3 or 4 more. And it will just keep rolling over. We also have one that's going to be with the Sketch Jammer set that's going to be with models. And we have another one that's going to be with retro animals, probably starting with cats. So they'll roll over, as you go along, and basically the idea is I'm a really retro vintage guy. I love older stuff, anything from my childhood all the way back. I really get a kick out of, which is why we did the Wizard of Oz set, we did the Pulp set, we did the dinosaur set. I don't know how retro you can get with doing dinosaurs, but
it doesn't go any further back than that,
Yeah, I tried to go further back, but I didn't really find anything. And
the beginning of the universe.
But I have one picture to show you, which I think is very cool, and then I'll stop. Now that I've learned how to.
Oh, now you're dangerous.
Yeah, now that I know how to do this one little trick.
We've given Johnny matches, and now he knows how to.
Yeah, that's about it. He's gonna blow himself up. That's the real Mac with one of the plates of chicken wings from the.
Check it out. I get all these kind of cool poses from Mac that just
Mac is a very hysterical cat. He's very grumpy, which is where he's very grumpy, which is where the character comes from. Mm-hmm. And Trouble, who has since passed away, was very adventurous and bold. It was kind of like saying, this is Wolverine and the Hulk as best friends, but more along the lines of like Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers.
And when you see Mac sitting there kind of chilled out, and then Trouble is the one jumping off the high point of the wrestling ring, and he's coming down. And when he comes down and lands, he of course misses his mark, and he's the flies are running around. He's chasing flies in a circle, and it totally captures the way those personality of those cats, which. I laughed through the whole thing.
I'm gonna queue up that video, and if you want it, these are some pictures from the cookbook.
See, now you're making me hungry.
I'm already hungry. You had me a mac and cheese.
The thing about the cookbook is that like a lot of other things, it's a homespun thing.
Yeah.
There will be celebrities that will be dropping recipes in there. I think I have about 14 or 15 different celebrities that are going to be adding to it. It's basically a chicken wing and finger food cookbook. It's just that, which is, to me, I find very unusual. 2 cats are giving you the recipes. So, there's that kind of thing. And like I said, there's a unpublished story that's in there. One of the stories is from Dan Gorman, who I mentioned before. Another one is Jay Moores, who I mentioned before. And then a third artist that I won't mention his name. No, Andrew De Crescenzo, who's an anime artist who does a fantastic book called Spirit Legends. and he's going to be doing a story we've been promising for years. Oh, it's going to be in the next book. It's going to be in the next book, and it never is. This time it is, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to find that video.
Well, while you're digging for that, I'm going to dig around for some things too. I'm going to dig around for the cover that that you and Jay worked on together. So while you're digging for that, and I'll dig for this. See if I can find it real quick.
You know, the hard part, I don't want to make it sound one way or the other, but the hard part is that I have a large schedule. I'm always working on something.
He is, yep.
And I hate to say it, if this computer ever goes down, I'll be sitting on the floor screaming because I have no place to put anything.
I'm going to tell you my while we're looking for things here, I'm going to tell you my horrible story as I look that happened with Google. And ever since then, I ask everybody to send us stuff in Dropbox because I had everything set up in Google. I had the awesome cloud going. I had all these things in there. It was a volume of stuff that other podcasters could look through to pull out stuff about creators so they could go ahead and do whatever they needed to for when they put them on their shows and stuff. It was great. And then every link shattered. And it was lost for months. I finally got back into it about a month or two ago. But in the meantime, I had to go back and find and rebuild and repurpose and get everything together. And it was just horrible to go through that.
I'll bet.
External hard drives are your best friend.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I went over to, I went directly over to Best Buy and got a 12 terabyte hard drive. And I'm fixing to get a second one. And I'm so glad I did because that was a horrible, horrible experience. I don't want to.
What I did was I got a big thumb drive, a giant thumb drive, and I've been loading stuff on the thumb drive, and I've been, every time I do something, I go to the next one, and I go to the next one, and I go to the next one.
We're gonna cover it, Mike, for a second. He's gonna have to peek. He's gonna have to peek around this. There you go. There's the cover. That and if
Mike, where'd you go?
Where'd you go? Mike's covered up. This is the cover for the book that we're about to go through here in a second in the preview side, but the all the ink you see is Rusty's wonderful work, and if you have the image of, I don't have it handy, it's buried in the drive, but if you have the image of just the inks, you can sew them as well. But this is how the piece turned out, and it's a really wonderful cover. Jay's the one that did the colors on it. Rusty provided all the inks to it.
Evan Scale did the
original pencils. Okay.
And what I did was it wasn't hard. You know, there are times when you're an inker and you're working from somebody's garbage and you're saying to yourself, oh my God, why did, blah, blah, blah. No, this was a dream to work on. He's a fantastic artist. Jay is a fantastic artist too. And it was just a dream it was to work on this, especially since a lot of times, this is a circle. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, and imagine that this is something, and
imagine something over here.
Yeah, and that's the way some pencilers work, which is okay. I get it. That's what we do, but it's a dream when somebody actually knows what the hell they're doing. I'll say that.
It is. Well, it's like that in the video.
They understand perspective.
It's like that in the animation side too, because when you get to a point to where you're building all these things from scratch, or you're adding to particular things, and then somebody provides you with a bunch of video parts that you can reassemble. That's the dream for us. We're building these animations to be able to do something like that. And I'm fixing to, let's see, that's that one. Here's what I want. I'm going to show you what we did, a couple of different things we did to the cover. I'm going to have to download it and re-download it here in a second. Say show in folder. Over here, of course. Okay, that's that. Man, it's like I said, all this stuff moving it around. These files get ridiculously huge.
Oh yeah.
This one may or may not load fast. Let me move it over here. That's the cool thing about having the setup like this, because when you scroll across the world. So
Right.
you can scroll back and forth between here and there, and it's like the reach is like shoo, and just take off with it.
That's awesome.
That was like I said, that was a lot to get done. Let's see, where can I put this? I'm trying to find a place to put this real quick so I can easily get to it. There we go, pictures. This is the animation we did for. There we go. Perfect. This is the animation we did for taking that cover, and this was working with another one of the animation, and most important, we worked with Steven on this piece of it. But this was taking that cover and animating it, and I'll show you the other pieces. Again, this is all going for that project, and we'll talk about the project in detail here in just a second. But there it is. And I don't know, this is the high res version, so it may run a little slow on here, but we'll see. We'll still queue it up and see what it does.
Hopefully
it will. It'll just take over our mics for a second. So check this out.
Mike is like, and it goes a little.
And it goes like this.
Like this. That's super.
So yeah, so you'll see the lightning shoot off all kind of different ways, and then there's the other one,
and you can hear the fans screaming in the background.
You can hear, you can see the
screaming. The lightning struck my 4-year-old, I think.
Oh no! God. And so we've taken the ads that are built too, and we add a little bit to each ad now, kind of trying to give it another way to catch attention within certain social media. So here's the little bit we added to after the ad was built. So kind of that conjuring, aspect.
Now, Jack Holder, which is the publisher, and and obviously the main writer for that book, was pushing that around and was very fond of that piece. It's a really nice piece. This is the original inks. When Jay got it and colored it, he did a fantastic job. Jay is a watercolor painter, but he does beautiful digital work, and I'm gonna manipulate it just a little bit here. If you look at the girl's face in this, do you see the mouse too? Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
And right there, the girl's face. I use a lot of stippling as shading. You can see, the inside of his scarf here, and bits and pieces that show gloss on the orb in his staff. So I used a lot of shading here, and I thought that the shading was a little, I'm going to move it just a second, was a little too much in this area. So in the colored version, he removed that and used actual color shading for it. That's the way I was taught to ink, was my style over someone else's style, which is basic. It's like, it's so basic, it's like turn the key and drive. So what I did was I adapted this stippling, and also there's a couple of other techniques that I use. The stippling is very European, and there's a coloring technique from Japan called yuguri, where you actually put, here, let me get rid of this. You actually put the paint on your hands, or the ink or whatever on your hands, and you massage the ink into the paper. It's called yuguri. And what happens is it leaves aspects of your fingerprint, and the smudging, the way you do it. I've actually worked on covers that way. I've actually done art that way, and it's actually a very interesting way of doing it. I love that kind of style.
It's a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's really good. He's got the Mac and Trouble queued up now, so I can go ahead and play that real quick for you guys. This is going to be a treat because I had fun watching this, and it kind of ties in, like I said, Rusty's wrestling history along with his current Mac and Trouble stuff. So
now watch this be my honeymoon video, and I mislabeled it.
Exactly. Here's us getting into trouble, not Mac and Trouble. So here, you guys enjoy this.
Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce you to Mac and Trouble.
Super Ultimo Insaniac climbs the ropes. His unsuspecting opponent is unaware of his situation.
Maybe this would have worked out better if you didn't announce all of your moves.
Hey!
That's the cat I would.
Aha!
Buck 1, Trouble 0.
From its humble beginnings as a newspaper strip, it evolved into a popular comic book, multiple trading card sets, a popular cosplay convention character, and now it will be a feature film starting production in 2021.
So that's I'd be the cat chasing the stuff, man. I'd have a lot of fun. But no, that's what's coming. That's what's coming from for us. Like I said, it ties in some of the stuff. We've as we always do, talked of course twice as long as we figured we would. That's just what happens. But we're working on getting better about that. But I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But we're going to try.
And I still have like a million questions.
So go for it, man. You can jump in there.
What federation did you wrestle for, man? You wrestle. I'm a huge wrestling fan. I used to run a wrestling podcast.
I wrestled in the beginning for the CWL, which was an offshoot of the USWA, and I wrestled in the the WCCW down in Texas, and also for WWF. I wrestled at Madison Square Garden with them, and I did a couple of shoot matches for AWA. See, at the time, everybody was split. This was 1980s, 82 to 86, and I got hurt in 87, and that's when I quit. And around that time, you worked for whoever you worked for. We would do what was called taking the train, the circus train. Right. I would drive over to, I was in Los Angeles at the time, Burbank, and then I would drive up to Las Vegas. That was my stomping grounds. We would wrestle at the Showboat, and we would wrestle at, with the old Showboat, because it's obviously gone now. And then we would go to the Stardust, and we would eat dinner, and they would show the live show on replay. And people would come up to us and get autographs and whatever. And then, they'd be like, okay, Kevin and I were just talking about this before, tape like a whole month of shows in like 1 to 2 days. And then we'd be, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to go down to Georgia because they're, doing some wrestling down there. And then I'm going to go to Florida. How about you? Well, I'm going to work at a Christmas tree lot, and then I'm going to go home and wrestle up at the CWL, or I'm going to go to Oregon. And that would be the train. You'd go back and forth. So I used to do that. And then I would split my time between Channel 56, which was in Orange County, California, which was CWL.
Hey, it's where I was born.
I would. So you're the one that we're famous for. And then we would go to Vegas, and I would do, USWA.
Wait a minute. How old are
CWL.
you? Could possibly have he? No.
No,
Yeah.
no. We're not that proud of him.
It's his, my long lost dad. I found him.
And then
be that lucky.
I would split my time, and I would go to George de la Isla's studio, which was in what was it, San Diego. He was Mr. Mexico that used to be in the WWF, and he was a great guy. He passed away. He was a great guy, but I did, and just like comics, I always kept an iron in the fire. I'd be wrestling.
There's an oldie but a goodie.
Yeah, I wish I looked
wow.
like that now. But the thing is I always kept an iron in the fire.
And around your neck, obviously there.
Yeah. The funny thing was, I've got so
Was
few
that before
pictures.
Junkyard took that gimmick?
To tell you the truth, that was actually. There's a funny story about that chain. That chain was held by a paper clip as a belt when I went into a battle royal in Las Vegas. There was no pay-per-view for us at the time. It was too hard to get. And now anybody can do a pay-per-view. It's like everybody has a podcast.
Yeah.
But back then we had what we called special show. So we would say, hey, we're doing a special show. It was like a pay-per-view, but we relied on the in-person ticket rather than, selling it, whatever. So that was a belt, and it was held on by a paper clip so that I can just pull it off and use it. And my partner at the time, nobody knew we were partners because he was my bad guy. It was Kevin Nealon, who played the snake charmer from Boston. He wore an all-black costume, and he had studs all around him that looked like a snake, and it came right to his two fingers, and they looked like fangs, and he would walk up and just nail you with the fangs. That was his gimmick. Just practicing with them, I looked like I had chicken pox because of my all over my face, my chest, my ass. I'd be like, does this hurt? Yeah. How about if I do it like this? And
oh man.
He walked in, and we were there, and the Samoans from WWF, Afa and Sika, were in there. The Bushwhackers, Butch and Luke, were in there. I think Ricky Morton from the Rock and Roll Express was in there, and Andre the Giant. Now, we were all between obligations, and what happened is Pat, the snake charmer, I was using it. That's why I had those gloves on. I put the chain around, and he grabbed the chain from me. Give me this, I got to use it. And I'm like, all right, just push me. So he would grab the chain and shove me to the ground. Wow. And he walked up, and Andre grabbed him around the foot and literally grabbed him by the foot and just picked him straight up like he was a cat. And just threw him over the ropes. And he looked at him like a wounded puppy. And he and Andre was like, "You suck," and walked away. And I got my ass handed to me. I stayed in for about 10 more minutes. And my gimmick was I used to come out with a cigar. And I don't smoke. We would break a cigar in half, and I'd light it and ground it against the ground to make it look all scruff. So it had this Wolverine look to it, and it was I got this little stub, and I'd come out and I'd grab it and I'd throw it at somebody, and it wasn't lit, but it looked like it was. Yeah. So, and it would obviously shoot ash or shoot garbage at somebody, and it left a mark. And like it was Easter Sunday, it's like, and I
frozen again.
He's frozen.
So awesome.
It's frozen in time again. The wonders of the internet.
Rusty, man, if you can hear me, what a very impressive career you have. Wrestling, acting, voice acting, artist.
It's man, that's what I said.
Man, what a life, bro.
You hadn't got a chance to catch it when you were coming in for the intro.
It's got to be because it's snowing here.
It's probably it's crazy. Now I should probably ship up one of the pictures over and post it up real quick. But I was showing Rusty this picture. I showed Mike already. There was like 8 inches of snow on top of the car yesterday. So I had to take all that off and go to the store. But it was kind of funny. And I'm showing people in Pennsylvania and New York. I'm like, oh my god! I'm like, okay, look, if you guys are saying that, it's got to be bad.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
That was what I was sharing when I got cut off because of it's snowing and whatever. But that's basically what I used to wear, and those gloves were great. But I got into a steel cage match. Real quick story: I was in Utah at the D Auditorium. We were outside, and it was it's a football field. And there was all the chairs, all the fans were outside. The steel cage match was done WWF style. The way that the NWA and the WCCW used to do it, the referee was in there with you and you were locked in. You weren't allowed to jump off the top rope. And it was a straight match, pin and whatever. Nothing was illegal. But WWF, you were in there with your opponent. There was no referee, and it was the first person to escape, and touch the ground. So, 1987, I'm in this match. About 10,000 people. We fought for 58 minutes, 59 minutes, and it was in the hot sun. And Kevin, I have to tell you, it was probably the worst thing I ever did, because it was literally like being in a microwave inside of an oven on the surface of the sun. It was so hot.
I was raised in the South and worked several outages in the South, and it was it is humidity on top of humidity. When it's thick in the air.
I was baked. The singlet that I'm wearing there, not only did I have that whole thing, I had sunburn all around it, but I was bleeding from my I have to keep looking at the monitor and adjust myself. I was bleeding from the ear. It was all down my chest and shoulder, and it went all the way down my arm into my glove. Not only was I sunburned around the blood to where when they washed it off, I looked like I had like this weird leopard pattern. They actually had to cut the gloves off of me because the leather was soaked with blood and it shrunk because it constricted because it was wet and dried so many times. And they had to cut the gloves off of me and soak my hand in alcohol because it would come off in pieces because of how bad it was. About 58, 59 minutes, the snake charmer fell to the ground. I had the belt. He fell to the ground, and he couldn't move anymore. Now, Kevin had a bad back, so I said, you know what? I whispered in his ear. Nobody could see because it was lightly televised, and this was the 80s, and a small organization. Crowd was so far away. You know, we're talking about 20 feet, 30 feet away was the ring parameter. So I whispered in his ear. I told him, I said, that's it. And I winked over at the referee. I struggled to get out. The referee opens the door. I walk down the steps. Now, these are those little wooden steps that they put near the rings. Yeah. I put one foot on the top rung of the stairs. The stairs went this way. I went this way. I fell flat on my face on the ground. All the stuff that I went through for an hour wasn't as bad. Referee calls for the bell to be rung, grabs me by the arm and lifts my arm up in the air to show that I won the match. And it was because the referee grabbed my arm awkwardly that I wound up tearing my rotator cuff. And that's what put me out of wrestling. So there was There was an article in one of the local papers, and there was a thing on television at the time that turned around and said, turned around and said something like, wrestler, was it like a pro wrestler loses title and is put out of the sport by the referee? Details at 11. And it was, I was a laughing stock. I wrestled a couple of more times after that, dropped the belt in California. One of the announcers was a dear friend of mine. He passed away, Herb Nero. He used to be a singer in the group called The Ventures back in the 60s, and he was also one of the announcers and one of the big money guys for WWF. And he ran a show. He had like a conservative, weird comedy type show where people would throw things at him and he'd throw things back, and they'd be arguing and yelling Jerry Springer style. God bless him. He entertained so many people, and he wrestled a little himself. And which is going to sound awful, I wrestled with an artist writer that was in comics. His name was Mario Simatavia. He used to work for High Impact Studios and that rip-off thief Ricky Carolero. And he was a great guy, one of my best friends, cried when he died. And me being all Irish and him being Cuban, we were the Mick and Spick connection. And when we wrestled, it was people were like, oh, yeah, that's real. Yay. So, I mean, it's not that many people, Mick used to be a term of endearment. Spick wasn't. Right. So when we would get out there, we'd be like, what do you say, Mick? And I'd be like, hey, that's pretty good. How about you, Spick? And that was when the audience hated me, obviously. Man. But we had a lot of fun. Wrestling was one of the best times in my life. Getting stitched up wasn't. No. But at one time, my back looked like a road map of Ohio, and that's just common. But it was a lot of fun. I didn't do any of the steroids. I didn't do any of the drugs. I was a purist. I didn't lift weights. I went for cardio. I would run the steps, run tracks backwards. I remember going to a school and running the track backwards 3 times in a row. And that would be my daily workout. And, fruit and vegetable purge, stuff like that. And I lasted for a long time. A lot of guys would be sweating under the lights. I would be barely breaking a sweat and barely breathing heavy, which was good for me because, like I was talking to Kevin before, sometimes we would shoot 3-4 matches in a day. I would wear a mask and nobody would know who I was. And then I'd come out and wrestle as me again. And I would, I told them before, we took a mask and we inverted it. So I was wearing the inside of the mask as the outside, and I would put it on. And we had a lot of Mexican wrestlers, Lucha Libre. And because I wrestled down in Tijuana a couple of times at the Highlight Palace, and I loved those guys. Didn't know what the hell they were saying, and I couldn't drink the beer, but it was great. And I would come out, and they'd be like, oh, that looks really good. You should put on the white mask. I'm going to put on my white suit. And I'd be like, oh, okay. He goes, we could go out as Los Ambulatorios. And I'd be like, what does that mean? He's like, it sounds Spanish. And we'd go out, and we would do a match, and then come back, and it'd be like, how did you like it? And like, the mask is killing me. And we'd be through the curtain, and he'd be like, the mask is killing me. And he'd be like, yeah, it kills me too. Totally lost his Spanish accent, totally lost
you're like,
the
what
whole,
happened there?
It'd be like, what happened? Mask, that's the name of the game, and walks away. And I'm like, okay, I need to get some rubber chicken and mac and cheese or whatever, whatever they had backstage.
Here's something we'll interject into the. I saw a video right before the podcast that my wife showed me on TikTok, of course. And if you want to have some fun, take a rubber chicken, cut it in half, and stick it on the end of a vacuum cleaner, and it is absolutely hilarious. The ambulance style sound that it makes.
Oh my god!
So that was they stuck it on the the regular like vacs. They took off the end of it, and you had just the tube. Cut the chicken in half and slid the chicken over the tube of the.
I had to find a prop shop that even sells rubber chickens anymore. That's like
where I had to get mine. I had to get mine online because you can't
wow.
can't find them. You can't find them anymore. You
Rubber
can't.
chicken shortage in America. News at 11.
When they were popular, it's just like the fake doggy do and the rubber vomit and all that stuff. When those things were popular, they were on every street corner.
Oh, they were.
And then all of a sudden, gone.
They were gone, just like the what's the name of that series? The Goosebumps. It was a Goosebumps. The Goosebumps series. How they kind of vanished in the dental office. It's kind of like, you never see those anymore. There was we track a lot of comics down for a lot of people, and they'll call up and say, "Hey, I'm looking for such and such issue. Can you find it?" And we'll send out and we'll get it for them and stuff. I had a dad call me one time that wanted to share Goosebumps with his son. He said, "I can't find them anywhere." And I found him at Mile High Comics and sent him some, and he was ecstatic. But
wow, Mile High, that's a name out of my past.
Oh yeah, that was my local comic shop for every 2 weeks for 2 years. I would like go there. I knew everybody there. They knew me. When next time I go back and visit Denver, I'm going to kind of swap my flights around to where I have a little bit of time in Denver, so I could probably go do a show from Mile High. But I
think everybody has one of those old stores in their background. When I was a kid in California, we had down in Los Angeles, Hollywood area, we had Golden Apple, which was huge, and then closer to home, I had a comic shop Lancashire Boulevard in North Hollywood called American Comic Book Company. It was this, boxes upon boxes upon boxes, to the point where you thought that you were walking into a crime scene upstairs from a store. And guys were always great. I wish I could go back in time and just buy a couple of those books.
Yeah, but just walk past the chalk on the ground. It's nothing, just nothing to see here. Just keep going.
Yeah,
it is, but to see there's not. We didn't have that that kind of availability because we didn't have a comic shop in my little hometown until I was 16, 17 years old. That was the first time I encountered comic shops. Now, if we wanted comics as a kid, and I started collecting comics when I was 10. It was kind of like the show Stranger Things. We'd all get on our bikes and go ride and find something, And there was a 7-Eleven that was it was the halfway point between my house and my grandmother's house, and I was allowed to go down to my grandmother's on my bike. So I would stop off at the comic shop, or the 7-Eleven was our comic shop,
right?
And I would play video games, have a Slurpee, try to get over the stench of the Clorox and the burnt hot dogs in the background. And that we're always on that Turner, right? They're always so that nostalgic, And so I don't know any better. I'm a kid on a bike. I'm bending comics on the rack, thumbing through them, I've probably caused more spine ticks in my time. So that was it. And but we didn't. That's the funny thing. What I have in my office now, which was very much a blessing to find, was the same style comic rack. Now, I didn't have the spinner rack in 7-Eleven. They just had the flat rack that had a couple, like a double flat rack that sat beside the video games. I found one of those through the Facebook Marketplace here that was incredibly cheap. But I don't know, about a year ago. But that's what you did. We did that. Played video games. I played Tron. I sat there and played Tron, thumbed through comics, then would ride on to my grandmother's house and then visit and then come back. But and the first comic book I encountered to pick up as a child to buy was my mom bought me one in the gift shop at the hospital where my dad was having surgery, which I still have that book and have done shows on it, which is Warlord 77. So it's we didn't have comic shops. Like I said, we didn't until it was later, in high school, and then that's when Paper Heroes opened up, and so
we had to find one in our area. We didn't have a local one. We had a market around the corner from where I live called Dale's Jr., which had maybe about 10 or 15 comics, and it was, pick and choose. Sometimes they'd have Action Comics, another time they wouldn't. So you had to go find, the Bridges. We had a couple of 7-Elevens. Those were the best. We
had Bookworms Apple. You mentioned Apple a while ago. It made me think about that, which was run by an old hippie. That was he was a guy. Of course, it's got a Buddha painted on the front and all kind of magical colors.
Let me tell you about Woodstock, man.
Yeah, exactly. Where's the books, man? They're in the back, man. It was definitely.
I had Treasure Hunt.
Okay,
that's what I had. Treasure Hunt.
Treasure
We
hunt.
found old school comics from like Bronze and Silver Age in there. Like
Wow.
my first one was a Silver Surfer 2000, and it was the cover that was like hollow foil. I had
Yeah.
a silver one and a gold one. Other than that,
Nice.
I just found my comic shop this year, Scott Huberman's 3 Alarm
Okay.
Comics here in
That's
Biloxi.
cool.
It's
We had
really
a
fun to
place-
have
An
a
actual
local shop.
comic shop, not like a hobbyist store
see-
with games and stuff.
Yeah,
a
see,
legit
ours is-
comic shop.
Ours is. We have a decent one here, but it's all new stuff. I can't. There's
Okay.
nothing here. I don't have an old school comic shop. I've got to drive 2 hours to get to a regular old school to be able to go find older books. That's really just a grassroots comic shop. The other one here is kind of like a third comics, 2/3 bookstore, and a
Yeah.
sprinkle of a cafe. It's like a little bit of everything. Excuse me, but that's the other one is called The Comic Shop. And that is up about, like I said,
What a
about 2
classic
hours
name.
north of us.
Underline and boldface
Yeah.
the word "the," trademarked by
comic, yes.
the.
Copyright, trademark. Yeah.
The
Oh,
comic.
We have
The-
a couple
the
of
comic
places
shop.
around here to grab stuff. We have Books a Million, BAM, and
Yeah.
they have a giant section of comics, but it's going to go away. Some of the Walmarts have a few, not very many, mostly graphic novels and
Yeah.
weird stuff.
Walmart's
you
have
know.
actually been getting into independent comics. They picked
Yeah,
up
but
a,
the
they
funny
picked
thing,
up a label recently, and it's an actual retail.
Yeah.
It's not like a combination of DC.
I got the
Marvel.
one, it was called Red Rooster, and then there was another one
Yeah.
that was Western. I got the Western one. It was based on the legend of Bass Reeves, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was actually very good. The only problem is, and the company can crap all over me for saying the wrong thing, but what happened was, I think they were, I think that their my grandmother used to say their eyes were bigger than their stomach.
Yeah.
I think that they had ambition to keep putting comics out, because when you go to the Walmart, that's all you see from that company. I know that there's another company now, but that's all you see. And
Yeah.
I think that what they did was they put out like 1 or 2 issues, and then they folded, or they stopped, or maybe the sales were bad. The problem with the spinner rack mentality, the wall rack mentality, was that kids would come in, and comics were the look or the hook. You would come in looking for comics, or you would play video games hooked into a comic and then go home.
Yeah.
But
That's what we
it's
did.
not like that anymore.
No.
Now, like I used to teach when I used to do panels at comic book shows, because I used to do a lot of panels. And I would teach the mechanics of sales in comics and mechanics of how to present yourself as a publisher at a show. I called my thing, it was called From Free to Fee. And it used to help people go from how to make money off of free jobs. Sometime we're going to have to go into that, because that would help a lot of people.
Yep.
Especially since
talked
I
about
haven't-
that a little bit today about doing
Especially
some
since
stuff.
I haven't done it in a long time. So a lot of people don't pick up on it anymore. But
We're talking about doing some segments. Rusty and I talked offline about doing some segments like this coming up. So yeah, it's a very needed thing.
we had a lot of fun. But with those panels, they were very interactive. We would make up a comic. I would make people in the audience participate. How do you sell the book?
Yeah.
Well, you got to go to this place. No! And then it would be like something else. And it'd be like, well, what do you want to call your character? Well, I'm going to call him White Lightning. No! And then it would be something else and something else. And then at the end, you'd be dancing around like a monkey. But the funny thing is, we did something with panels that nobody else did. We included the audience in not just nonsense question and answer thing. Q&As are great, but we included the audience in the setup. The panel was the audience. And then at the end, we gave everybody in the audience a gift, which has
awesome.
never been, which rarely, if ever, been done before. But we did those panels, and we used to tell people about, the mechanics of sales. It's not like that anymore, because if a kid goes to a convention and he's got $5, it's not just, I'm going to buy a comic. Now it's, I'm going to buy a shirt, I'm going to buy an action figure, maybe a video game.
Yeah.
Your $5 might be, a big convention, rubber chicken nuggets, or I'm going to buy a bottle of water. It could be I'm going to save my money. Everything from,
I'm a trade collector, so sometimes I wait for a series to finish and then collect in a trade.
Me too. Actually, I've been doing that because I don't have a local shop, and I don't get out. I don't get out at all.
Like Ronin. Like, I'm not reading TMNT Ronin until it comes out on trade.
Yeah.
But I'll go back and buy the covers that I like.
I just bought a trade. One of my favorite characters is the Thing from Fantastic Four. So I just bought a trade based on that character. And it was phenomenal. If you ever want to read a funny trade that has extra pages and it's got something good to it, Marvel based, a Thing, the Idol of Millions, is hysterical, and
what's
very
the one you were missing the
superhero.
other day? You mentioned there was an issue you were missing. You were trying to find on the set.
Yeah, I can't remember which one because
I'll
honestly,
go back and look and see what it was.
I
issue
hate
3,
to
maybe.
say
I'll
it.
look back through our messages.
I also started looking for another couple of books. See, what my problem is I don't get out enough. It's very hard. I do something that a lot of artists don't do. I do what's called job stacking. I have an iron, like I said before, I have an iron in a lot of fires. So I trading cards, comic books, marketing, publicity. Then I have my own stuff that I work on, and then I have voice work and acting. So like
you're
today,
always setting up for the next paycheck.
Yeah.
Today I worked on voice work, and I finished the Western set for Upper Deck. I'm going to be coloring and painting all weekend. I finished the toy set for Artists Assemble, which is Bianca Thompson's company. She's a famous artist. And just before that, I finished the CW Network DC set. I did the card set for DC. I wish I could show you some of them, but unfortunately I'm not allowed until they come out.
He's not, but I am. Watch, I'm going to go ahead and put it up on screen. We're going to share that out. No.
But the thing is that I job stack. A lot of times people are like, oh, okay, I have a set, and here's one that I did. Here's Magneto, and here's Snoopy, and here's something else. And I'm like, God, I wish I had the time to do cards for myself. I wish I had the time to, whatever. But I don't, because when I do stuff, I don't have the time. I have to work for others. I wind up with artist proofs, which is part of my compensation. Like, here's cards from Tops that I did.
Oh, nice.
These are artist proofs. I have these up on eBay, and this is one that I did for Island Dreams. It was called Bomber Beauties. Let me see if I can get rid of. There we are. Get rid of the light here on the desk. I have all these cards just sitting here, but I don't have the time to do all the stuff. So I literally have a box of something like, and this is not a joke, over 1,000 artist proof cards that are blank that I haven't even done. And I probably have maybe 1,200 blank comic book covers just sitting here, going all the way back. Some aren't even really sketch covers. They're just blanks. Like Fantastic Four had a blank, and Zero Hour for DC had a blank many years ago. And some of them just have, like, here's the figure, but the rest of it is all blank. And I always said that's going to be my retirement. I'll just sit one day. I'll wake up, something new. I'll wake up and stay in my pajamas all day, and I'll draw, like I don't do that already.
Rusty Gilligan, work ethic like a monster.
There you go. What's some of the other stuff you want to ask you, Mike? We're fixing to jump into previews and then.
Oh, this goes into Spider-Man, but I bet you haven't went and seen the new Spider-Man yet, because
no, I haven't. I wish I had.
Russ, I was talking to Kev, but shame on you.
Oh,
no.
Sorry.
Do I need to like stick my fingers in my headphones for a second?
No.
Spoiler alert!
I would invite
alert.
you to Comics and Pop Tarts podcast so we can go more in depth on.
I wish I could go and see that, because I thought Tobey Maguire was the best Spider-Man out of all of them. Holland is nice. They were all good. Garfield was okay, but I still think that Tobey Maguire was the best. I think the reason is because when the film first came out, it didn't have as much CGI effort and it didn't have as much digitization as the newer movies.
Right.
So
well, the technology really wasn't there yet.
Yeah, it didn't catch up to it. As they say in animation, the horse and cart were running neck and neck.
Right.
In this case, I thought that Tobey Maguire was the best. He had a lot of passion. And the other thing was, even though we've seen the Batman origin a million times, every movie is a Batman origin. There's always a Batman origin. We know that Superman, landed on Earth and the Kents took him in, and on and on and on. For some reason, that Spider-Man origin actually stuck out. And it goes to something that I do when I do comics. I think it really is the characterization. If you don't make the character strong, if you don't do the build-up, it's like watching a cooking video. Here's a little salt, here's a little pepper, here's a little whatever. Let me show you how we mix it up in the bowl. Obviously, people get bored with that unless they're into cooking. And then when they watch it, they hang on every word, every stir of the bowl, and the little comments. Oh, my grandmother used to make this, and we remember sitting outside on the front porch and smelling the pie, and on and on and on. That's characterization. That's build-up. They found the statue inside the lump of clay, not the other way around. And that was the thing. So I enjoyed those. I wish that they had gone to the fourth movie for Tobey Maguire, because I had artwork that my partner Tim Stiles and I did for the fourth movie. Jim Carrey as the new Venom, and we had it all drawn out.
That's a twist.
I have to tell you guys, there's a lot of stories online that are, I'm going to be nice here and not bring out my Brooklyn. There's a lot of stories online that are BS crap about what was the fourth movie. We worked on the fourth movie. We saw what was supposed to be, and no one's ever released it. But it was phenomenal. And you would have seen the Lizard. You would have seen Venom. You would have seen Sandman come back. And another hero, which we never heard who it was supposed to be. And it was great. And it was all based on that Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure it was Spider-Man number 50, where his costume is in the garbage and he's walking away. And it was Spider-Man No More.
Yep.
That was the one that it was based on. It was a really good idea, and they trashed it. And I understand why. First it was the Sony or whoever, then it was Raimi saying something, then it was someone else saying something. But I have the artwork from it, and it was great.
Nice.
Cross your fingers, man, because after the
but they're going to do the new stuff. I think they're going to do new stuff. This is basically anything that they do new with the characters, and then I'm going to shut up after this, but anything that they do new with the characters is basically going to be a love letter towards the Spider-Man multiverse animated cartoon that they did with Miles Morales. That's what's going on.
Yeah, I know they're getting a sequel. It comes out in 2023.
With Marvel, they had I'm only going to say this in a nice way, and I don't want to tip anybody's hats. I'm not working with them anymore, but I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. With Marvel, they dug a hole for themselves when it came to continuity. I'm a huge continuity buff. And they dug a hole with themselves for continuity. And they needed alternate reality, multiverse, Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, Miles Morales, the Spider-Verse. They needed that to set them straight. And out of all the Marvel shows that appeared on Disney, the two shows that you really have to watch that will help you understand the path that they're going on is Loki and Hawkeye.
True,
because if you look at Loki, you'll understand the Kang and everything else. And if you look at Hawkeye, Hawkeye is basically the key for the Netflix show Keyhole that gets brought about after that. I don't want to give any spoilers, but the show's been out now.
We won't spoil
The show's been out now for a while, but I don't like to give any spoilers. But don't be surprised that Kingpin, Captain America, and Iron Man original actors are all signed up for more productions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So you're going to see Vincent D'Onofrio. You're going to see the rest of them.
I think Chris Evans already signed on for Secret Invasion.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, these aren't flashbacks.
Right.
Like Black Widow was a flashback movie,
Right.
and
Well, that's because of COVID.
right, and I have thoughts about that I won't express
Yeah.
about
That's a
about
whole
how-
other podcast.
about I liked the movie. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't like all the BS that happened behind the scenes. Same thing with Ms. Marvel. I did not, or Captain Marvel, whatever. I didn't care for the BS that went on behind the scenes. You have to be a priest, and you have to respect your religion, and you have to respect your congregation. If you're going to be actually somebody who's got the sacred trust of being a character, portraying them, you have to be loyal to your fans. It's not a job. So when they come out and Captain Marvel bitching about, fat white guys and making comments, that was a letdown for the industry. If she kept her damn mouth shut, did the movie, and if she was a better actress, because there's not enough fruit on that tree, but if she was a better actress, I think that the movie would have probably made double.
There was a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on. Yeah, there was a
Well,
lot of,
I
there was
just
a lot of
watched the whole-
animosity going on. There was a lot of stuff going on with that show.
Friend of mine
suits.
at Marvel Studios sent me a reel to look at, and I looked at a lot of their interviews and I looked at a lot of whatever, and I'm just going to say she pissed off a lot of her co-stars.
Yes, she did.
To the point
I've seen
where
those outtakes.
I was shocked. Okay,
I was like, wow, you're new to the game and you're going to do this to them, and you're
right.
You're the
And
new
the
kid
funny
on the
thing
block.
is, you can't just rely on, hey, I'm a comic book character because I was in Scott Pilgrim as TNA. You'll figure that one out.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a fact or fiction. I haven't done the research on it, but it's something I saw that popped up just yesterday about the ongoing. Like I said, I don't know if it's a real thing or if they're doing it to act like it's a thing so they get publicity. But the fallout between the Spider-Man stuff going on and the whole thing with the new Captain America, there's a back and forth banter, and they did a thing the other day where they said they pulled out some quotes from one of the interviews, and he's Tom Holland's being interviewed, and he says it's okay to take shots at me, but you have to have your own ride to be able to do it. Once you make a few movies of your own about you, rather, I was like, whoa. So they were, heavy zinging back and forth. Like I said, I don't know if it's
Holland,
fact or fiction.
Holland gets a bad rap because of the fact that he was a young kid when they hired him. He had never worked on projects like this before. This isn't a Harry Potter thing. He had never really done anything because Rowling basically gave the stars free voice to say whatever the hell they wanted for Harry Potter, but Marvel obviously doesn't do that. Disney is very secretive about projects.
They had their own security team, I heard.
Yes, and they pulled a fast one on Holland recently. I don't know if you heard this, Kevin and Mike, but they pulled a fast one on him recently. He's doing an interview, and one of the other characters comes up and says, "You leaked the whole Avengers movie on Instagram," and he's like, "I looked at the post and it was there. Oh my God, did I really do that? I don't even know what I did." It was so funny.
They have a lot of stuff going on about he just can't keep a secret. And the new poster they put out there has him covering his face with his jacket, his mouth, like he wants to say something but he can't. But him and Anthony Mackie go at each other, man. They're like I said, him and Mackie just back and forth, back and forth.
That's okay though, because you know what it is. They all adopted him. He's not the new kid on the block. He's just a kid, and he is a great actor. I'm going to tell you, his Spider-Man is definitely in the running, because when I look at like the character who did the voice of Miles Morales had a great voice. I just didn't care for the way that they did it, even though that animated movie was the Spider-Verse one was great. I really liked the Spider-Man, the Peter Parker that was in there. I think that they should have spent more time on that one. I hope that they do that in the next one. But the goal with Spider-Man is, I'm a kid of the 60s. I grew up reading Spider-Man. I identified with him. The way he was a science nerd, I was an acting nerd. I would be on television, and then I would go back to school after being gone for 3 weeks because I had school on the set.
Because
and the
we
kids
all have
would,
that childhood.
Right, and the kids would beat me. The kids would beat me up. They would throw me in lockers. I'd get thrown in garbage.
That's just jealousy, man. See, people are petty, man.
But they were all, I don't want to say jealous, that makes it sound braggadocious, but the thing was is that they were all petty.
Yeah.
And reruns would come on and they'd say something and on and on and on. I identified with Peter Parker. Spider-Man was something I wish I could do as a Peter Parker.
He was a character that people, and what they brought when Spider-Man came about, and we could probably do a whole show on that. When Spider-Man came about, he brought it to where he had real problems. He had homework problems. He had problems in school. He had problems dating girls, like trying to ask girls out. He had real teenage problems.
Lee and Ditko had a window into an alternate universe kid's mind, because all I can say is every single thing that they wrote, I went through. Yeah. Friends that were into drugs, losing a girlfriend, gaining a girlfriend, the whole power and responsibility, and on and on and on. I didn't have a father. I would make money, and it would be, for the family. I was a little kid acting, and all my money went towards my family as a big supporter. On and on and on. It meant something to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
It was my lifeblood thing. Now that I'm older, not that much older. Now that I'm older, I love the Thing from the Fantastic Four. Kirby told in an interview one time, he said he felt that he was the Thing.
Okay.
Stuck out. He was, cigar smoking, gambling, Jewish, didn't fit in any place, always felt like he was out of place.
Oh, man.
And that makes me feel the same way. I have literally off screen here probably about 20 or 30 Thing books that I've bought in the past couple of months, waiting for a time when I'm either going to fall down the stairs and break a leg and have 100 hours to read books, or get fired from every job because I say something stupid on this podcast, and I'm right there. But the thing is, like I just picked up this one, which was they're not new, but I just love
Rusty gets
books.
Fired from every project he has for saying the wrong thing on a podcast.
That's it. I have a doll around here somewhere that looks like Kevin, and I stick pins in it every day.
I get that pain on my side.
I'm like, oh, so you're having a problem with your foot, huh?
Yeah, that's why your sugar's been up and down.
That's why your sugar. You just pouring sugar on this voodoo doll, and my sugar just goes out the roof, and I go into coma.
Oh, man.
Be like it. So you want to, and then here you go.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, nice.
But I that's the thing that I look at. Like, I identify with that. I hear all the time, oh, I love Spawn. Spawn's great. Spawn's one of the best characters ever. And I'm like, that's good. What year were you born in? I was born in like 1996 or 1995. And I'm like, that's the gold. That's the real golden age of comics.
Yeah, because we all know comics in the 90s are worth a fortune.
Right. Oh, yeah, but exactly. I only have 5,000 copies of The Death of Superman in the bag, never opened,
well, they were
virgin.
$5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Spawn. Every character has a following, and every character creator deserves a following, no matter if it's printed on toilet paper or if it's printed 5,000 times by Image on toilet paper. But the thing is that
About to say that's a good idea for a Kickstarter giveaway.
My first
That's
comic.
what I'm thinking. writing
My
that down
first
real
comic
quick.
book was A Tales of Suspense with Captain America and Iron Man, and you can't get any more authentic than that.
No. Here's what Rusty did to me a couple days ago. He took that voodoo doll he's got over there and he poured flour all over it, and this is what I got. Yeah, I show people that picture and they're like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm like, "This is nothing. That's nothing compared to a Colorado winter." Okay, I could do that, but yeah, don't even.
What I think is
Those are
funny
harsh.
is you guys can look this up scientifically, and then I'm going to shut up. When you do pictures like of your car or pictures of like a railing or something, snow accumulates more on metal surfaces. So if you ever want to make snow look worse than what it is, take a picture of a car or take a picture of a stop sign or a mailbox, because it accumulates faster on metal surfaces than it does on any other surface, because it super chills the metal and it works its way up like roots, and it makes the snow stick.
See, snow sticks around here. It never would really stick too much in Colorado. It would just kind of, it'd stay in clusters, you know. It'd be 70 on a Wednesday and like snowing on a Thursday. I've got pictures of my house, 2 pictures side by side of sunny day and covered in snow. You could walk outside and a hailstorm out of nowhere would happen, and those umbrellas people put out on their patios and stuff, we've got one here. Couldn't keep one in Colorado because you put one out and it would look like a hailstorm happened, or a meteor shower, I should say, that was actually a hailstorm, and they'd have all these holes in them because it looked like a meteor shower hit your house. It would rip. They were so hard it ripped vinyl off the side of houses. I mean, it was incredible. Harsh winters, negative temperatures to where I was scraping my breath off the inside of the windshield of the Jeep just to see where I was going. I had this like little tank, little slit where I could drive. I don't want to ever relive those couple of years in Colorado. Beautiful, beautiful views. Harsh winters. Is there any last couple things you want to check out with Rusty before we go through previews and wrap this baby up? Because
in other words, for God's sake, shut him up so we can get the F out of here.
We could talk all night, and there's people that would listen.
Okay, I'm ready.
I mean, no, let's go. 18-hour podcast. I'm ready. No.
Yeah, there you go. Podcast marathon.
Podcast
2022 New Year's kickoff.
Exactly. We're going to 22 hours straight for 2022.
That's right. We're in hour number 16 of our podcast right now.
The craziest thing we ever did was stay online for 52 hours straight, and that was. I'm not going to say we were the first because I never do that because somebody's always going to jump up there. No, we were the first. Look it up. Right. No, we were one of the first to do a virtual con. And we watched the con start falling when COVID hit. And then when MegaCon went down, that was our chance to put a con out there. And we put a virtual con. We had 106,000 hits in 52 hours.
That's awesome.
And it was a bunch of us all got together, and there was vendors selling books. There was people doing cosplay. We had a virtual go down hall this and to see this and go down this and see that. And we just basically kept trading the signal to one another because you can only run 4 hours at a time. So we'd trade off the signal like a baton, and if we needed to take a nap or something, we'd run something that was pre-recorded, like Stan Lee's last panel, and we'd run that for a little bit. And everybody would crash in the studio, and then you would get back to it. But yeah, 52 hours straight was the longest we ever did, and that was of us pitching back and forth. People, like I said, people sold books, people drew online, they painted online, all live. The cosplay events were cool. It was a lot of fun. We're going to do another one, but they take a lot to do and a lot of, and everybody's been so busy lately. We're just like, we'll
let me know how it goes because I'm surprised I've lasted for 2 hours.
Yeah, me too. Because my foot's killing me right now.
The way I look at it is it's 2 hours without a pencil or an ink pen.
There you go. Without this, my hands can be free. So
calling home.
Yeah, we're now I'm going to break into real quick. We're going to do this and then we'll let you go. This is the book for I'm going to add this to the stream real quick. This is how to get to anything we're fixing to talk about for previews. And Rusty, you're more than welcome to stick around if you'd like. If you got to go, that's up to you. Same thing, Mike. If you I know we're kind of going over on time, but this is the preview page that everybody needs to go to for the previews we're fixing to run through. This is inkedpub.com. So if you go to inkedpub.com, that's the new flagship page where you can find stuff on the show here, about camaraderie. If you want to flip there and see the old episodes from season 1, if you want to sign up for the road show, and if you have something, if you want to get on this podcast or other podcasts and tour the pod show format that we have through all of them, just sign up for the road show. And then if you want to get there, and then let's scroll back over here. I got to run back and forth to scroll up. I got to run to the screen over here, and then there's the ink marketing down. And like I said, they're all 4 on a regular screen. So here we're going to run across, and I'll just lean back for a second and take care of this.
Well, I am going to hop off because I don't want to keep you guys longer than you need to. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. I enjoyed it very much.
Catch a little bit. If you want to do some interjection on this first one, feel free. Like I said, I'm going to start off with the book for this one.
The only thing that I always tell people is I just have to be careful, because whatever you're allowed to show because you're working with them is great, but I'm not allowed to do certain things because, you know, what I
always do, and all of us on the ink. Let me throw this up there. Anybody on the ink team signed a confidentiality agreement, so we protect your IP just as if it's our own. So what I'm about to show you is exactly what's online. So this is actually the jump that goes to their Kickstarter. Right. So we're not showing anything that nobody doesn't know.
Oh, okay, good.
So that's what this is.
Because I always have to protect what I do.
That's what we do. We protect it as if it's our own. So this is.
I'm actually surprised that he showed the cover that I worked on so soon.
Yeah, it hopped out there right away. Well, you know, he was kind of a little bit reserved because he launched the Kickstarter without a cover. So that was kind of a whoa, you know, and he hurried up and could put the cover on 2 days later. But here's, if you run over to the inkedpub.com and you scroll right over here, and like I said, if you want to go to Comic Camaraderie and check things out, you can come here. If you want to scroll over to Indie Campaigns, this is all the campaigns that are going on. Here's the Legends of the Realm, the one we're talking about right now. You run right over here to this Visit Campaign button, and that takes you right to the Kickstarter. So that's the way that works out. I'm signed in right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and close that. So up to 67 backers. We've only been at it a couple days now with him. So he's cruising right along.
He's doing great. He's a great guy.
Great. He is. Jack's a really good guy. I like talking with him. Here's the cover that you're talking about. There's the, it's up and on there right now. And then the piece that we pulled off the Kickstarter and then did the animation to is there. But let's see. There's that. Let me read real quick. This is you guys need to go check out. Like I said, this is Legends of the Realm, the Floating Dream #1, and it follows really the chronicles of this gentleman right here, of him being tested, right, and what he can do in his journeys. So again, it talks about this is the King task with a new quest. Camaridian's adventures start with this floating city, and he's got to basically that the city basically defies logic and reason. Of course, this floating cloud city, which is featured right there at the top. So it goes through how that works for him and his journeys. Again, just check everything out.
And the artwork is beautiful.
The artwork is just, and I'm going to run through some interior pieces real quick. So the interior previews, there's just a little bit of a sample of some of the things from that city.
And I'll be finishing up a pinup that's going to be going into the book in the next couple of days. And I think Jay is coloring it too. So that'll be something new coming along.
One thing I want to point out on here, and a lot of thing that in the Kickstarter world you look for, is how many things people have created versus this right here. How many things they've backed. Jack's done his part in backing other creators. Mm-hmm. So that's a big thing in the Kickstarter world. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, wow.
So that's right there. Just the imagery in this book, and I like the color scheme. I really like the...
Indiegogo and Kickstarter are basically the new Diamond Comics distributor. Diamond really hurt the industry for a long time, and distribution was literally as blind as a bat for a while. And the people often say, why support an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter? And I always tell them, you eliminate the middleman, the prices are different, you never got rewards through a distributor, and distributors were always hustling. This is a way to interact with the actual people. This is the difference between going to a supermarket and buying a bag of oranges, or going to a farmer's market and buying directly.
Yeah, that's
the online equivalent of walking up to an artist in Artist Alley at a concert.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like,
That's right. And I think that's why Jack has been successful in his campaigns. You mentioned about him buying and supporting other people. He backs other people because he has a genuine passion as a collector.
He does,
and a reader, as
it
well as
it comes through with this book.
Well, he's balanced. He's balanced, and I think that's the thing that's also missing. I see a lot of campaigns where the people floating them through do not have that balance. Guys like Jack, Evan, there, Jay that I work with, and obviously myself. But these three guys, they have that balance.
So here's Evan you were talking about, and then
right,
John
beautiful
is the
artist.
Editor. John did a great job in editing this book, and then Mr. Myers right there, the letterer, and then there you go, Mr. Gilligan himself.
As it goes by, everybody goes.
And then Jay Moore's colors. We talked about Jay just a second ago.
Yeah.
And then Miss Fletcher, again, another variant cover artist. So
that's the one that's the piece that I'm inking is based on her artwork.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Jay is probably going to be coloring it.
So again, I would say, we talked about if now I'm going to read you off real quick. Let me find it. This is basically, let me scroll up. It's people who would like this book. It was up towards the top. There you go. 28 pages. So anybody that would like anything about Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia, or the new book, the one that's out there, the new series out there, Wheel of Time. If you like those things, especially the Lord of the Rings side of it, this is the book for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So I just want to kind of put that out there. We want to start with his, and for the preview section, and then kind of go from there. And then the rest of them, we're not going to dive that far into them. We're just going to kind of show them out there. There's only a couple videos. So this is going to go kind of quick. Again, here's the one that we just talked about. This is the ad to look for. We put this out here just the other day, and then of course we started to animate it. But again, just look for that ad. Click on it. It'll bring you right to the door of the Kickstarter. Another one to check out is the Killing Machine, and the Killing Machine is going to launch here on the 11th. And the next show, we're going to have the creator of that on. And the Killing Machine is set in 2073. And it talks about in 2073, marine geologists discover an external extraterrestrial buried area. And deep under the sea, they find this, they're not quite sure of this piece, and they end up calling it the Hand of God, because they think that's where everything came from. Now, in doing that, and I'm kind of setting the tone of this book, they actually start trying to figure out what it is. Well, you'll start to see ads from us about this Who is Richter, the one I have on the screen now. So Richter is basically this autonomous robot. They call him ARC, is for short. Is put in charge of a crew of 39 humans on a mission to steal this ancient artifact, which is, again, like I mentioned, the Hand of God, from an alien race. Loaded with destructive hardware and lightning-fast reflexes, he's basically just an amazing killing machine. So that's how this whole kind of thing starts off. He's in charge of this mission to go steal this piece back. So that's a real cool. And the guy that put it together, Mr. Hainsworth, is works in with stuff with robotics and everything. So that's why he's got a really cool twist. He's a really gifted screenwriter. That's where the basis of this book comes from. And you'll start to see some animations. They're already floating around out there. I didn't pull any for today because we already kind of run over on time. But go check out. Make sure the 28th is when that book launches. He'll be on the next show. We'll go all through the book, show a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. The next one coming out right after that is Amerikaiju. That's a book that we've had sitting, waiting on. I don't know where that was coming from. I was trying to figure that out for a second. It sounded like an undersea adventure for a second. We had this book. It's been waiting on some things to get out of the way for printing. Again, with the paper charges and everything else, we've been trying to go ahead get that book going, and it's ready to go. So we're excited about that one. The next one up is Shadow's Daughter. This is another one that's been waiting for fulfillment stuff to happen, waiting to get dropped, and we're excited that Shadow's Daughter is actually ready to go. And I'll show you the quick little video on that one real quick. Pretty jazzed about that book. That's a fun book right there. That one's coming out on the 28th, I believe. And then somewhere in February, we haven't quite figured out a date yet. There's a couple more books coming out. We've got 15 or 16 books in production right now. So there's lots going on. So this one, after the January stuff gets knocked out, starting in February, you're going to see this one right here. And this is from Mr. Paul Gomez that we did PTSD for. And he's got this book coming out called Mindbender, and it's based on the book, if you've ever heard the book The Monkey's Paw. And it's basically one of those kind of, be careful what you wish for kind of aspects. And so we're just going to tease a little bit about that. I really don't want to say any more than that about it, but just be on the lookout for it. The same artist that did PTSD is the same artist that cranked this one out, and it's been a really fun piece to watch kind of start to come together, and we're excited to be able to bring that to you. Paul's actually on a show right now in New Orleans, and he's going to actually do a couple of some spot interviews for Camaraderie, so you'll see some things. We're going to load them in a later show, but you'll see some things kind of live from the floor, so to speak. I've set him up with a few artists and writers and other creators down there to chat with, just a couple of quick little interviews, so that ought to be fun. There's 5 or 6 people that already said, oh yeah man, we'll get on the show, so I'm waiting to see how that comes together. It should be fun. Last but not least, there's Mara, which is we're in talks to make its way into a printed piece. This has been one of those webtoons based deals to where you can go to Patreon and get kind of a page a week, and it's finished a story arc, so it's at the point now to where it can actually become into a paper version, and that's all coming together nicely, I think, and I'm anxious and curious to see how that book finishes up as far as the logistics of how we're going to move it from a webtoons version over to paper. But we have some good ideas on that one, and here is the video that we created for it for Mara. So basically, make sure when that one hits, like I said, we'll go more in depth when we don't quite go over so much on time. We'll dive more into them at the next episode, but I just want to kind of get those out there real quick because I always like trying to fit in previews with the show, even though we kind of went like 3 times longer than we were kind of scheduled to go. And I do appreciate everybody in the listening audience staying with us and jumping in and out of the show, and again, you guys for tuning in and for for Mike being here. And
it's the New Year's 2022 kickoff special. Just put that in the title.
It had to be long, right? It had to be long, and just a lot of us just kind of having fun, and that's what the show's about. Just hanging out, chatting comics. If you want to come out and hang out with us and listen to see what's going on, but we will do our best.
Rusty's one of them cats that just always has something to say, man. Just every word that comes out of his mouth. Put a book. Like I would read his tell-all.
Yeah, you could not contain what all he does in an hour show, and I knew better than that. I knew better than to try to put all that in an hour, because it just, like I said, acting, voiceover work, sketch work, inking work, on and on and on. A wrestling career, I mean, he was, he was telling me stories about being on the set of Little House on the Prairie, and then what it was be like to be one of the kids dancing around in Pete's Dragon. I'm like, my God, who had that childhood? you know. And
He's touched every part of my childhood.
there you go.
And I don't mean it to sound the way it sounds, but
no, we'll have to edit that right out. Oh God! See, now we're just punch drunk. But the other cool thing about it is what I really tuned into was when him and I got to talking, and then when he was talking about being on the set for doing stuff for the scene stuff and the sketch work for heavy metal. I perked right up. I was like, "What, man? That's my childhood." And I've got a piece.
I actually rewatched those the other day. It was glorious.
Isn't it? Wasn't it though? And I've got to find it.
They're just as cool as they were when I watched them the first time.
They are. I've got a box here somewhere that I have to find because he sent me one of the original programs from heavy metal and did a remark on it. Ooh, and I've got it. It's I moved boxes from the garage into here, and I'm siphoning through them to finish off the office. I'm almost there, but I haven't found it yet. And it's one of the things I want to put up on the wall. Now I'm going to show something
for the channel.
Yes. No, it is. Now I want to show you. I'm a big art supporter, being an artist as well, and I got this in the other day, and the frame was shattered, but it didn't hurt the piece.
Oh, nice.
This is one of the original pages from PTSD. Oh, nice. So that's the original inking work.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful, man.
And you can see all the different things that they done. So that's fixing awesome to go on a frame. Like I said, when it got shipped, it didn't. Our wonderful USPS postal service.
I'm so sad I couldn't make it out to Fan Expo. Yeah, next year though, I'll be better prepared. I'm
going to try to go next year. New Orleans is my town, man. I was so. I mean, I got too much. I can't just break away and go. But no, we'll make plans to try it because if there's a con on the top 5, it's going to be that one because.
Oh yeah,
that's my.
There's a lot of people that go there. I mean, I was looking forward to the Kevin Smith show, but he canceled.
A lot of people canceled, and because it was, if you read on the stories like I showed you, it was on again, off again, on again, off again. It's like they couldn't decide if they were going to do it, so people just kind of scrapped it off their schedule. Yeah. I talked to probably 10 or 12 of the people, some of the main draws that are on the Artist Alley. I talked to them yesterday, and a couple of them were no shows because they couldn't make it because of the on again, off again thing. So they're scrapped from being there. One person just couldn't make it, had something else come up. Another person that I talked to was stuck in Denver at the airport and was going to be
all
there
their major
overnight.
draws pretty much called out. I think Anthony Mackie was the biggest one that was still going.
Did he go or he did go? Yeah, I heard he was. So,
but I think they only went for the one day. I think it was today.
Okay,
it's either today or tomorrow.
He's good about showing up. He's really.
I know Sundays on cons are usually days where people go home or they leave early. There's not a whole lot of going on. There's just a lot of floor and art gallery gallery activity.
I try to plan mine to where the first couple I'm trying to get things knocked out, and then the last days kind of picking up, kind of swinging through Artist Alley and picking up stuff I saw the last couple days and didn't have time to grab. Yeah. Or I try to swing through and wrap up something with somebody. It's
well, the 3 biggest ones I'm trying to go to this year are going to be Pensacon, MegaCon in Florida, and also DragonCon here in Georgia. I've never been to that one. I've heard it's
DragonCon's a big draw. I can when you get ready to do that, there's some people I know that I can hook you up with that'll show you DragonCon the right way.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
And then some friends of mine that live there and have been involved with it. There's one of my friends has been to, if not everyone, all but one. I think he might have missed one, but other than that, he's been to every Dragon Con that's ever been. There are guys that run panels and stuff out there, so they're big time.
Awesome.
So but yeah, I've got some stuff on the schedule to go to for next year. I scrapped everything for this year with the move and everything else and trying to get situated, and I just too much going on. And a lot of people do that. Like I said, there was a lot of cancellations for this con that I gotta that people have to deal with, but.
Well, with some of the gears moving around and inked, we might have more reasons to go to cons in the future.
We're definitely going to have some more reasons, and there's going to be some more stuff from the con floor. We did some things this past year, not as much as I wanted to because of the hiccup with cons and stuff. But moving forward, we'll definitely, we're working towards getting back on the plan of having booths set up and people being able to check out, walking around as camaraderie and doing interviews from the floor. Having booths set up where people can hear about what all they can do, what services we have to provide to them as creators. All that stuff's coming back online as shows pick back up after COVID. So we'll get back there. It's just we're kind of turning the curve with everybody else, trying to gravitate back towards all getting together. So,
Dear the powers that be, no more variants.
oh God, yeah, that's a
Stop
whole
scaring
other.
our people.
We could have a hiccup, just a whole hiccup of variants, and just we were talking about that the other day, and like if like this variant bomb like in one particular area, it just like wipes out everything, like everything going on. It's worse than a snowstorm.
Yeah. I can't wait to the name the next one. I mean, how scarier could you get?
Oh my God. Megatron just hit. I mean, come on now. I mean, Optimus Prime is here to. Yeah. Oh, okay, guys. Yeah, just throw something else out there. But they claim. Now, here's what's interesting, and I don't want to get all political about it, but they claim that this area, Franklin County, is spiking right now for the Omicron thing, right? And oh my God, it's off the charts. There's testing centers like around our house, like there's nobody lined up. There's no cars in the testing. There's people manned, but there's nobody there. And I'm like, okay, if this is like all cars, and we're all about to just, what's the deal?
Yeah, Lowe's said after January 1st they were going to start testing people at the door. I've yet to been stopped.
They're talking about that. They're talking about it all over, and of course there's a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, I don't want to get political about it, but there's a lot of stuff going on in like Supreme Court right now about it, and what employers can and cannot do, and so on and so forth. And I just like, oh man, just come on. And people get they've turned an epidemic into a political arena, and that's kind of troubling,
Yeah.
I understand people's reasons. I'm gonna go on record saying it's a personal choice. You either do it or you don't. You either wear a mask or you don't. You either get a shot or you don't. That's your business, okay? It's a personal choice. Leave it at that for me.
It's not political, but once you start affecting people's television shows, and once comic book fans can't get into their comic stores or Comic Cons to meet their heroes and buy their favorite comics, there will be a gallery outside the Washington
oh man,
the White House.
We did a lot of stuff with NSC Live TV last year because the doors were shut because there were comic shops are not an essential business. So man, we had comic shops calling us left and right, going, "Hey, when can we come on and sell books online? Because our lights are on, but our doors are closed, brother. What can we do?" I said, "Come on, let's go." And we had a ton of shops selling books last year because they couldn't. And then once the doors opened, we said, "Okay, everything's cool." But it was a feel good for us because we were there for them to keep their lights on, and some of them made more that way than with their doors open because people are trapped at home, right? They can't work, or they're off work, or they're working from home, or whatever else.
Oh yeah, and then like a lot of local artists and writers who have comic books in their hometowns, they just did consignments, right? Just to get people in the door. Like Jason David Frank did a whole tour from coast to coast. I know I went to that here in my local shop. I spent some of that awesome money that they were giving away that I didn't want or need, and I just gave it to the comic shop here in town. What's
funny is I jokingly said about that. There was pictures I surfaced out there when the $600 stimulus check went out. Big screen TVs went on sale at Walmart for $5.99.
Oh, I know, right? It was like a cash grab. Like, and you know what's funny? They got grants to cover employees, so it's like they just tripled their money. It was man.
Yeah, it was. It's interesting times, but the silver lining I think in this to look for that everybody really needs to kind of grab a hold of is the fact that it was a big year for indies.
Yeah,
it was one of the biggest years, that's what I like to see. That was and you see some stuff from us floating around out there that we just love showing other creators' work and highlighting them, and that's from the heart. That's true because it was so nice to see so much activity in the indie world in 2021. Absolutely. That's my silver lining to that. Because
and bigger things are coming into the world of comics for the industry. Image just unionized, which is awesome for a lot of freelancers because
that's a big step.
What unions brings fairness.
it's been a long time, coming. It's there's a lot of trends going on, and like Rusty mentioned about Diamond, and I don't want to grab Diamond by the throat by any means, but their move and what they did opened up the door for a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of people have become self-distributors. A lot of people have started to just, go back the way we all did it before and go into the comic shop and say, hey man, I got this book I'm selling. Do you want to put it on your shelf? And you're starting to see the trend in more comic shops over the past couple of years of books. The indie section is not in the back in a dark corner anymore.
Oh no, yeah, it's like right next to the big ones.
It's coming up. It's coming up to the forefront. You see books salt and peppered up there about indie books along with mainstream books. And again,
Paul picked up 12 shops for PTSD alone in his local area.
Yep.
That's huge.
Yes, and so it was so much fun being a part of Paul's journey, because, and that's what I tell people, we're a part of. Okay, we're the marketing arm for these people. You have to have. I always tell people, you have to have a good burger if you're selling a burger, right? And as much as we want to wave the flag and say, we'll go back to Steve, old booger Steve, right? Steve's burgers are the best burgers in town. Go check out Steve's burgers, and we're highlighting Steve's burgers. But if Steve doesn't deliver a good burger, Steve's burger is going to go out of business because he's not delivering a top-notch burger. So That's why I say before, you got to own what you make. And Paul delivered, and that was taking someone who wasn't a creator before, and now he's in the comic business, and now he's selling stuff at stores. He's going to shows. He's going on interviews.
He's coming up, man.
He's in the business now.
And it's coming up. We're doing a collaboration too.
Yeah, and we as Inked is the whole team of us, and you're on the team too, right? I mean, we all feel. I'm speaking for everybody. We feel really blessed and privileged to be a part of these people's journey.
That's the magic in doing this, man. That to me means more than the money, any of the money that could come out of profiting from this.
It does, because, like I said, just the wall behind me right here. That's last year, and that's just a third of the books. Okay,
They used to be blank.
Yeah, and exactly. And the crazy thing about it was, when I thought about making this, it was after a bunch of books had been produced, and I had these shelves up before Inked was ever in existence, up, and I had birthday books on them. Every the books that came out the month and year I was born, I have a birthday collection, which is people go, oh, that's kind of fun. It is fun, nostalgic to see back and see what book came out, the month and year you were born on the shelf. So that's a fun collection. I'm going to put it back up, and I'm going to every time I tell somebody, they're like, oh man, I'm going to do that. And sometimes I'll do that for birthday gifts. I'll find whatever book they really like. If they're into the Hulk or into Spider-Man, I'll find the book of the month and year they're born, and I'll send it to them. It's kind of a fun thing. My mom was always into birthdays, so it's kind of a thing now. So I had those shelves, and I measured out. Now get this. Here's a little bit of. I measured out this space from the poster to the wall. Figured out what I needed to be able to put up a certain number of books. And you can go get these. These are basically, and a lot of people are doing this now. You're taking these laundry shelves and you're flipping them up on their end, and you're hanging books on them, which works wonderfully. Excuse me. Medicine I'm taking is giving me. I guess I'm getting hiccups while I'm drinking. I'm doing. Not drinking. Okay, it's not a drinking show. I've got the hiccups now. So. That I was like, okay, this is what I need. I measured everything. I was like, you know what? I still have those birthday shelves in the garage. This is the interesting part. I go down, I take a measurement. It's to the exact inch.
Oh wow!
From the shelf space I needed here to the shelves I had for the birthday books. So
the universe said, "Do it."
The Inked family wall is born, and I quickly filled it because I had everything in boxes. It's going to wrap past what you see here because, of course, we were part of over 50 campaigns last year.
Yeah, okay? That's impressive.
And that's was a whirlwind. And sometimes, it just you had multiple campaigns. You had 10 campaigns sometimes running in a 2-month span. But the goal last year was 25 campaigns. Right. So we didn't mean to double that, but we did, which was great. But we've already got, like I said, here we are in January, and there's already 16 on the books to be 15 or 16 to launch into 2022. So I didn't even put any numbers as a goal for this year. I'm just like, okay, it's going to do what it's going to do, and just
let's see if it matches.
Let's just see if this number over here is going to match this number over there. But it's a lot of fun. It's I can't wait for your book to come out. Wild Oni when that
It keeps
song
getting pressed back, man, but it's slowly
it's
coming
coming
along.
though. It's coming. We'll be there when it does, and we'll be out there. Just I can't wait to take some of the imagery and build some animations behind it. That's what I'm looking forward to.
It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool because I know
that's
Animotions does some really awesome stuff, and everybody loves to play with that awesome Asian Middle Eastern music, man. The flutes and, and all those really cool instruments.
Awesome. People, all creators get jazzed when they see it. Like Rusty was talking about that. The creator is for the other piece we did. The most recent one is showing that all over the place because he loves it, because that's their creation coming to life.
Yeah.
And that's, we put the motion with the animation and put it as an emotional experience, just tie it all together, and just came up with another word, called it Animotions. And did you hear the sigh for please let me out? Yeah, my dogs in the back are like, please, we've held it for so long, we've got to go. So again, I thank everybody for listening in to this episode. We went way over on time, and we'll have to edit this thing up a little bit to get it out there on some of these different platforms. And again, we love all the different platforms that we're on. So now that the dog alarm is going off, and we need to go ahead and wrap this up.
It's time to exit the studio left.
It's time. Her alarm. There's no mute on her, and there's no snooze button. So I'm going to have to go take care of that. But as we scroll through here and get to the yet an end of the 2022 kickoff episode, always remember this.
For more fun-filled episodes, come visit our website, www.comicrottery.com.
Stay tuned for more. We'll be back with some more episodes the rest of 2022.